So once again, hello everyone. Thanks for joining it here. So today agenda for the topic, right? Today that what we are going to cover is Sentinel, right? You must be heard about that Sentinel somewhere in your corporate exposure or what is Sentinel, how it works, right? So we are going to see it in our agenda. What is Sentinel basically? Like just a small introduction on the Sentinel and then key features which is needed to configure that Sentinel and what is that important things that Sentinel provides to us while we configure it, right? What are the core components which is must to have it while configuring that Sentinel, right? Benefit and security we are going to cover. Key use cases like where exactly I can integrate my Sentinel and I can use it for my environment. Integration with other services also, just not with the Azure cloud. Other services we can integrate with that and the real world scenario, like we are going to cover it. I do have, I mean, with my exposure, many real world scenarios which I have worked on that Sentinel. So I am going to tell that also. And then pricing model. And then finally, we are going to have a demo of that Sentinel. So this is going to be our agenda for today, right? The, I mean, I am going to cover all aspects of the Sentinel, which is needed for a person to work as a security engineer in that environment, right? Now, before we'll start on the Sentinel, right? Before we go on the Sentinel topic, I wanted to take a pause here and let me. I find one diagram on the internet. There are many diagrams are there on the internet. You can go it here. But this Sentinel, right? This Sentinel is SIEM and SOAR. When I'm saying is Sentinel is a SIEM and SOAR based capabilities. Sentinel is SIEM plus SOAR. So before I'll start it, anyone from you, do you guys know what is SIEM? It's very common for that IT guy, right, who's working on that networking and security expert. Any line, anything which you wanted to put it on that SIEM here? What is SIEM or SIEM? What we call?
Security,
Mm-hmm.
information,
Okay.
security information and event management.
Okay. And then what is SOAR? Anything, right? It's not like we just are here to understand the right thing. We are going to tell that, but anything on the SIEM, anything on the SOAR side?
So it is like orchestration and automation.
Yeah. So what do I mean by this orchestration and automation?
No, they are trying to automate all the security events and security incidents and make it.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct, right? So Sentinel, when I say Sentinel, it's a SIEM and SOAR. So SIEM, like someone said in that chat, right? SIEM is it's a security information and event management. It's just the full form. I'll tell you what does it mean. And like someone said, the SOAR is security orchestration and automated response. Please go and unmute device if you're not speaking. Right. So these two things are there, right? These two, when we combine both of these things, right, the entire Sentinel is going to cover in this picture. Now, first thing is what is SIEM? It's a security information event management, right? What SIEM will do, SIEM is good when we configure that Sentinel into our environment, right? In previous class, we heard about that law, which is log analytics workspace. Everything is getting interconnected with each other. I'm going to tell you that. So law is log analytics workspace. It's a very simple service. We are not, I mean, nothing is much to understand here. Law is just to collect that log from your environment, right? Like whether you configure that Azure, in that Azure, you configure one virtual machine, right? So how we are going to log that event which is happening on that Azure, right? And where exactly we are storing it there. So the storage capabilities is law. Like you have syslog server in your environment, right? You configure or you have Palo Alto where you use Panorama, right, as a log collector, right? I have Checkpoint where I use checkpoint management server as a log collector, right? So all these different capabilities, all that logs which is getting generated, right? All these logs which is getting generated in my firewall is getting stored here on my Panorama. I can do it on Palo Alto itself, but there's some limitation on that. But yeah, Panorama is something where I can store it, the logs there, right? Now, similarly for the resources which I'm configuring it on my Azure environment, the resources which I'm configuring it on my Azure environment, I can store that logs, right? And that logs can be anything, whether it's an activity logs, which means if I'm doing any changes, if I'm doing any configuration, updating any configuration on that resource, let's say I'm talking about virtual machine. So this virtual machine I configured. So the logs which I'm storing it can be activity log, it can be access log, right? It can be access log, which means like I access that environment, I access that services and what I've configured it there, right? Or it can be any other logs like what else logs active, I mean categories are there. Like in a WAF, we have firewall logs, right? All these log, I need some place to store it, right? I cannot do it on the virtual machine. I need some place to store my log there, right? So here comes that log analytics workspace. The logs which is getting generated, I can store it in my log, which is log analytics workspace. Now, there should be some connection, right? There should be some connection between virtual machine to that log analytics workspace. Otherwise, how this virtual machine or how these logs which is getting generated, they will get to know I need to go on this workspace, right? So for that, what we do, we configure the diagnostic settings. For that, what we do, we configure the diagnostic settings. We call it DS or diagnostic settings as well. Diagnostic settings, right? What we mention basically in diagnostic setting, not that things like what we exactly going to mention in diagnostic setting and what we mentioned in our previous class, we are going to tell that, hey, for this diagnostic setting, whatever the category of logs you're generating for this resource, right? So diagnostic setting, one thing is a specific to all resources. If you have 100 resources in your uh, Azure cloud, you need to configure that diagnostic setting for all that 100. Like the same thing, take it the example here. Right? Let me repeat that. Let me repeat it slowly. So if you have 100 resources in your Azure cloud, whether it's a virtual machine, storage account, application gateway, load balancer, anything, anything, if you have that in your Azure cloud, right, you need to configure this diagnostic setting for each resources. For each resources, you need to configure this diagnostic setting. And what I'm going to tell that in diagnostic settings, I'm going to tell that, hey, whatever the category of logs, whatever the category of logs you are generating it, let's say VM are generating some logs. So whatever that category, whether access log, activity log, or anything, or all category logs, plus metrics, plus metrics. What does this metrics means? So metrics is like uses and utilization. Like what does it, if I'll talk about in a sense of virtual machine, if I'll talk about in sense of virtual machine, what metrics means to men, right? It means metrics is some, I mean, it's most of the time it's going to be a numeric things, right? So it's going to tell that how many percentage of CPU getting utilized. Okay, percentage in CPUs, percentage in memory, right? Total data in and out, right? Data in and out, right? All these things, right? That performance related steps or it uses related or utilization related steps, we call it inside the matrix. It comes inside that matrix. We discussed that in previous class, just giving a 5 minutes recap on that, right? So in diagnostic settings, what I'm going to configure it there, or I can short name as a DS. In my DS, what I'm going to configure it there, I'm going to tell that, so this is my virtual machine. This is my virtual machine. I'm configuring that DS for this virtual machine. So I'm going to tell that, hey, whatever the category of log, whether it's an access log, activity log, or any other category, or all category. Let's say I'm saying it all category of logs, or if you want to include that matrix also, I'm saying all category logs plus metric. Okay. All category of logs plus metric, I need to store somewhere, right? So I'm going to tell that store these logs in my log analytics workspace. And then I'm going to specify the name of my workspace. I'm going to, from the drop down, I'll select that workspace name. Let's say my workspace name is demo log. I'm going to say that all that category of logs plus metrics store inside the log, right? So log analytics workspace is basically a mechanism which store all that logs which is getting generated in your organization on that Azure resources. There are other steps also. There are other resources are also there where you can store the logs. But preferred is this log analytics workspace, and it's the most commonly used. The other resources like storage account, you can store your logs inside the blob of the storage account. You can store inside the event hub, right? These are the services are also there, but this is like where every company opt for store the logs there, right? Now, this is just a one thing. So what happened there now? For this virtual machine, I configured my DS settings and I have my connectivity between law and virtual this VM virtual machine resource via diagnostic settings. So this will send it here and this will configure it here, right? Now this is thing. So whatever the things is getting generated on this virtual machine, I'm capturing it and I'm getting it stored there. Right? Now the source of originating that data is my virtual machine here. Right? Now come back to the SIEM, which we were discussing about. Now this SIEM, right? So SIEM, what it will do, first it will collect the data, like the way here, it collect the data from the source. Like in my case, it is virtual machine. Like let's say Prakash was saying Palo Alto, or I'm saying it checkpoint, right? These are all next generation firewall. So the data source can be Palo Alto, the data source can be virtual machine, data source can be your simple virtual machine, checkpoint firewall, or load balancer, or like application gateway, WAF, right? Or front door, or anything. It's just not about the Azure resources. Even you can integrate your on-prem resources as well as a data source. Even I can integrate my AWS resource.
With agentless, sorry. This
Sorry?
agent you have to install any agent in that VM?
Correct. I'm going to tell you that once again, right? So whether it's a on-prem or you have that on-prem also, you can integrate that. You have that AWS services that also you can integrate that as a data source, right? Now, with that virtual machine or with that checkpoint, right? With that virtual machine, you don't have to do anything as such, like because these are configured on that Azure resources. For that Windows machine, right? But the Linux base or Ubuntu base, let's say Linux base or Ubuntu base, right? Because all these firewalls, all these steps, right? These are Linux based OS operating system, right? Now, how can I collect the data source from there? How can I? It's not so. If you have that checkpoint firewall, take the example of the checkpoint, right? It's just all that everybody is having the same scenarios there. With the checkpoint, if I want to take that logs, right, into a log space, into a log analytics workspace, right? I cannot directly configure that on this checkpoint virtual machine. So two things are there, right? Let's say this checkpoint has been deployed on my Azure cloud. Azure cloud. This checkpoint has been deployed on it. It's very simple to deploy that. You need to select that predefined template on the marketplace, right? Then if you're defining it on the high availability, two virtual machine, two VMs going to be configured, right? Now within that two VM, like that, I was doing it for the virtual machine, right? The similarly two VMs, you'll be going to see it in a high availability, one as an active, one as an passive, right? Now, so on these two VM, checkpoint is going to be installed. On these two VM, that physical virtual machine which you spin out on your cloud, on that the checkpoint is going to be installed. Now, this is one thing, right? Virtual machine is there, checkpoint is there, checkpoint is installed, right? Now, if you are saying it, hey, I mean, this diagnosis setting, even how I can configure the diagnosis setting, this is on that virtual machine. I can configure the diagnostic settings and simply advise them to go on this log native workspace. Let's say demo workspace is there, demo log. Okay. I can simply say that, hey, on these two virtual machine, which you configured, I can specify my diagnostic setting and I'll tell that go to this workspace. That is fine, but you are doing that on VM level. The logs which is getting generated on that VM level, right? Like any metrics or any audit log, access log, or anything activity log getting generated, you are defining that send that logs to demo log. But what about the checkpoint? You configure that checkpoint on top of that OS. You configure that Palo Alto firewall on top of that OS, right? So this is not going to be come the logs which is checkpoint is generating. It's not going to be come on the demo log native workspace. You're getting my point, right, guys? So what I'm saying it here, let's say you configured virtual machine. I mean, configure the firewall, right? And that firewall you configured on the cloud. So for the cloud, you can take that predefined template from the marketplace and then configure it on the virtual machine. Now, virtual machine has been configured with the firewall. Let's say Palo Alto firewall, right? So this is my active unit and this is my passive unit. These two VMs are there, right? These two VMs are there on which my firewall has been configured properly, right? Now, if I'm specifying that diagnostic setting, if I'm specifying this diagnostic setting, so I'm specifying on that VM level. I'm specifying on that VM level. I'm saying it, hey, whatever the logs is getting generated this VM or whatever the logs is getting generated by this VM, send this log to my demo log entities workspace. But my Palo Alto firewall is installed inside this virtual machine, not on the top of the OS level, right? And this passive is also firewall installed on the top of the OS level. You are sending that intra level log on the virtual machine which is generated to the workspace. But what about that application which you installed inside that virtual machine? Correct? If you're not getting that, let me take another example. Let's say this virtual machine is there. This VM is there, right? Now on this VM you installed Nginx server. On this VM you install that Nginx server, right? On this Nginx you configure your web application, everything which is there, right? Now if you're configuring the diagnostic settings, then VM level logs is getting stored inside this TS, but not this Nginx. What your server is generating, not you're going to store that. It's not getting, it will not get stored inside the diagnostic settings. Same happen with the firewall as well, right? So how can I store my logs? How can I store my logs which firewall is generating? Like the way that firewall generating any access log, right? Where I put the source, destination, port, and action, right? How can I store those logs to my workspace, right? Or any other logs which is generating, right? Event-based logs, anything. How can I store those logs to my demo workspace? So that also you can do it. Now for that, the agent will come in a picture. That agent will come in a picture. That is log analytics workspace. We call it as a law agent, right? For the Ubuntu base, for the firewall Ubuntu Linux base, you need to install that law agent. It's very simple. You're going to get that predefined script from that Azure, copy that command and paste it on that. Take that CLI console of that Palo Alto firewall. Okay, take the CLI console of Checkpoint firewall or Fortigate, any other firewall. Paste that command there, and then once you're done with that, your log analytics agent is installed there. Okay. Now, one thing what we did, we installed that log analytics workspace, which means connectivity from there, from demo workspace, Oh, you guys are following me, right? Any yes or no response? Anything so far? What we discussed?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So now what you do, like previously that OS level things, right, which I'm generating it, like the virtual machine logs, which I was storing it on that demo log, right? So far what I did with this agent, and this is my Palo Alto firewall, right? On this Palo Alto firewall or on CLI console, I install this law agent, right? Now law agent has been installed. There is a connectivity. You will get that notification of that workspace that Palo Alto firewall is connected to that workspace or not. You'll get that. You'll see the status over there, right? Now, so far, I installed that agent there or from on my Palo Alto firewall for this demo log, right? Now the connectivity, these two getting established. These two are connected. Only connection has been established, right? Now, if the logs which Palo Alto generate, right? If we'll see that, let's say any access log, right? Any destination-based logs getting generated, that still you won't be able to see it on your demo workspace. Connectivity is there, but still my logs are not able, I'm not able to view it there, right? Connectivity is there. I installed that Lognetics workspace agent on my Palo Alto firewall, but still I'm seeing it, my logs are not getting generated or logs are not getting stored inside my demo workspace. The reason behind that, why it's happening it there, right? So why it's happening it there? Because like logs which Palo Alto generate, either it will be in a syslog format or it should be in a CEF format, which is common event format, right? Common event format. So what happened with now? You need to have that these like event which is getting generated, right? Either in a syslog format or in a common event format. You need to make sure you need to convert that, or you need to have that data connect, which I'm going to tell in a Sentinel. You need to make sure that these types of log which is getting generated, it's also going to be stored inside that demo workspace. Once you'll have that, right? Once you have that, right? This comes on the Sentinel part. I'm going to cover that. But once you have that, your firewall will start sending the logs to that workspace via agent, and then you'll see that logs are getting stored inside that workspace.
So in this workspace, so
Mhm.
different types of logs, like from different resources.
Correct.
Will there be separate,
Separate. Will this will be
it'll
separate.
be
I'm going to cover.
separate?
Correct. Correct. I'm going to
Oh, okay.
cover that
I'm just
also.
talking, sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
carry on, sorry.
Let me come on the Sentinel, right? Then you can ask this question there, right? So far the things which we did, this part Venkat, I think Venkat was speaking. This thing we're going to cover in that Sentinel, right? The what about that? How you're going to take the different categories of the logs from that Ubuntu or Linux space? I'm going to cover that. But yeah, so far only understand this thing, right? Now workspace is there, Palo Alto is there, logs are getting stored inside my there on that VM level also and that OS level also. Now clean up. Let me clean up this mesh here, right? Now I was talking about the SIEM. I mean, I went so far because all these things are interrelated. Now it's showing that collect the data source log, collect the data. This is SIEM categories, right? This is the SIEM thing which I am describing it here. This entire thing which you are saying it here, it's a SIEM process, right? Now, so far what we did, Palo Alto is there, or let's say anything, right? Palo Alto, someone comfortable with a checkpoint, someone comfortable with that uh, Fortigate, right? Or any AWS services or any on-prem services, right? I'm going to tell you how you're going to do that, right? So let's say these are my data source for now. Data source, they are generating the logs for me, correct? So I connected that, I got the data source, right? And now I need to store that data source. I need to collect the logs there. Remember one thing, like we are describing that log analytics workspace here, right? That's why I covered log analytics workspace in my previous class. So you'll get to know on the Sentinel. Sentinel will have its own log analytics workspace. Sentinel, the Sentinel service will have its own log analytics workspace, which means when I'm configuring this Sentinel, I need to have a one dedicated log analytics workspace for Sentinel. When I'm configuring this Sentinel, I need to have one dedicated log analytics workspace for the Sentinel, right? Where my logs are going to be stored. Like here, Palo Alto, storing the logs in the log analytics workspace, and that log analytics workspace is a Sentinel log analytics workspace. Okay. So I'm storing that logs into Sentinel log analytics workspace. That's the one thing, right? Now it's so that first step is done. Collect the data from the source. I collected the data from my Palo Alto firewall. Now it's aggregating the data. It's summarizing the data. It's accumulating the data at one place. Okay, it's accumulating the data into one place. Whatever the logs these are sending, not about that VM level, right? Forget about the VM. Now I'm talking about the OS level, like that you see that logs. What is you put that different filter on the Palo Alto source, destination, right? Uh, uh, what is that application type? What is that port number? What is that action has been taken? Any enforcement profile has been done, right? All these things which I do it on my Palo Alto firewall, right? Now I'm sending those logs to my workspace, Sentinel workspace, a dedicated Sentinel's workspace, a dedicated Sentinel law is needed for that workspace. I'm storing it there. I'm storing it there to my Sentinel workspace. Okay. So first thing first, I did it, right? You're going to see many complication here. You're going to see that complex stuffs are there, right? Like somewhere you're going to see that your agent is not getting connected. First thing, the law is not getting connected. The law agent which you're installing it on the Palo Alto, you're not able to see that it's not getting connected. Second thing, if you do that, that event format, that different category based logs is not coming there. So you are going to see that multiple issues there. It's not that simple, but yeah, just think about that. I'm able to do that, right? I did that and I got that logs into my Sentinel workspace, collected the data. Now Sentinel workspace is aggregating those data. Sentinel workspace is aggregating those data means it's accumulating all stuffs there. Okay. Guys, please stop me if you're thinking my somewhere I'm going too fast, right? Or somewhere you're not getting understandings, because this thing is must to have, this thing is like you guys need to get it there for Sentinel to work, right? Now, data has been collected, accumulation has been done, right? Everything getting stored in my Sentinel workspace, which I need a dedicated workspace I need for my Sentinel. Now, after this is done, right? It's going to discover that it's going to discover and detect the threat. How it's going to do that? There are different means uh, on that Sentinel. Like I'm going to define some pattern. So let's say this virtual machine is there. Again, this Palo Alto firewall is there, right? How can I define that this is attack for me? There are some predefined attacks are there. That is okay. Predefined attacks are there, right? Like some predefined attack, OS attack, open web attack are there, right? Right. But there are on organization to organization base. These are getting different. Not about this one. The other things also, right? Let's say you have this Palo Alto firewall. Somewhere you are saying it, if person is failed to log in 3 attempts, person tried to log in on that firewall 3 times and it's failed, right? So I'm saying it that this is like block the account, or this is somewhere it's going to be not genuine. If let's say I've tried 5 times, right? So you're saying it 5 times is okay, but if I'm trying 10 times, the same failed login attack, right? You're saying if 10 times this happened, somewhere some fishy is going on, right? Report that incident. If let's say, so organization to organization differ. I'm saying it 5 times if person is trying failed login attempt, report me, right? Phishing is going on, something is happening there, right? So for your organization, you are saying it 10 times. So that category, that parameter is going to be differ, right? But how it's going to define that threats is happening? How it's going to, what is threat? Threat is nothing. It's something like uh, some malicious thing is happening in your organization, right? But so two types of threats are there. One is predefined threats like OS attack, zero-day theft attack, right? These are some defined theft attack, right? But your organization also needs to have some uh, category defined. Like you're saying it, hey, this is if this types of things happen for my application, I called it as a attack, right? Now, plus OAS, zero-day, or any types of attack. Apart from that, plus what attacks? I'm saying it my own rules, my own rule, right? Like I'm saying it, this if this is happened for my organization, this is like it's you can understand, right? Organization based level things I'm defining it there, right? Now, how we are going to tell that if the threats are happening into your organization, how this Sentinel is going to identify that it's going to detect that threats are happening it there. So for that, I need to define some mechanism on my Sentinel. We call it as a analytics. We call it as an analytic rule. We call it as an analytic rule. Okay. We call it as an analytic. On this analytic rules, I'm going to define some pattern. I'm going to define this pattern. I'm saying it, hey, if this is happened, this is attack, generate the incident and let me know, right? So this analytics, which I'm defining it there, it's a first thing, it's a KQL base. Again, custom query language, which Azure follows, right? It's KQL base. So I need to define that analytics stuffs in a KQL base. Okay. I'm saying it, hey, if this is the thing stuff, right? Let's say Windows based login failed 10 times, right? So this is threat for me. This is threat for me, right? And then if this is happened, first thing, generate the incident, automatically notify my team. Let me clear this first. Now let's say think about this one. So what happened? Windows-based login attempt, like your Palo Alto, think about that Linux-based, 10 times failed attempt happened. 10 times failed attempt happened. So this is not genuine, right? For any organization, why a guy will try to do the 10 times failed attempt for a corporate stuff, right? So if this is happened, what I want with my Sentinel, hey, since you got that, this 10 time happened. How? From that data source, from that logs which you connected, right? Now, next step is what you need to do it. You need to classify as a threat here. It automatically going to do that, right? Classify threat. I don't have to do anything there. Then what you need to do, how it's going to classify as a threat, because that analytics rule which I'm defining it there. Some predefined analytics rules are also there, and you can define your own analytics rule, right? So I define that analytics rule here, right? Now, the next steps which I'm going to do it here. So that analytics rule is there. It's identify that threat is happening by this analytics rule. The next thing I'm saying it, if this is happened, right? If this is happened, create an incident automatically. Create an incident, right? Now that incident which I'm generating, right? If you want, let's say that uh, that monitoring tool which you are using it, or let's say uh, uh, incident management tool you are using it, ServiceNow, Snow, or it could be BMC Remedy, or it could be any other your own third-party tool, right? So I'm saying it, when this is happen, generate an incident and send that incident to that ServiceNow or BMC, right? Whatever that. At the same time, also notify my L1 team so they can reach out to that senior level team and they can tell them. So far this is done, right? Now L1 has been notified, incident has been generated on that, let's say on that Sentinel itself or also ServiceNow or BMC itself. So far things are good. Now after that, if this category falls, the 10 attempt really fall on that analytics rule, which I define as a threat, I need to do what? I need to do my blockage as well. I need to do that blockage as well. I need to block that IP. I need to block that person IP. But that blocking that IP, which I'm doing it, it should be automatically. I don't have to do that manual thing like we do on that firewall, block that IP firewall, right? Or block that communication on the WAF level. But here, what I want to do that, I want that it should happen automatically. These part, why I created a line between that, these parts come in a SOAR. This part will come in a SOAR. So far, till here, right? Till here, the everything which is happened, it comes in a SIEM, like connecting the logs here, right? From the data source, aggregating the values of data, identifying the threats by the analytics rules which you defined, right? Right? Creating that incident, right? Sending that incident to the BMC service now or L1 team, generating an email. These things we'll call it as a SIEM. These things we call it as a SIEM here, right? So what happened? Security information event management. So whatever the security information generated, right? Whatever the threats, these are the some security threats, right? Whatever the security threats getting generated, it's going to log that as an event. How? By that incident. It's going to log that event via incident, right? So all that stuff which is happening, it's going to do that management of all that stuff. So that's why we call it as a SIEM here. Sentinel is a SIEM-based tool. SIEM plus SOAR-based tool. Now, if you understand that SIEM, SOAR is pretty easy to understand. So far, we did that. We generated the incident. We notified that L1, but we have not done anything. Any action, we have not done it. Have we? No, right? We have not done any action so far. So how we are going to do that action? How I'm saying it, if 10 time person is logging, it should get blocked. It should get blocked automatically. So that automatically blocking of the stubs or automatically uh, putting a break on the threads, right? On the threads is done by that SOAR, automated response, right? It's orchestrating first thing, managing everything into a orchestrated thing, and then automatically it's going to send that response to block that stubs. So now, how I'm going to do that? How it's automatically going to run that? For that, I'm going to configure some automation there that we can do either via logic app. Like if you remember, guys, I did that logic app configuration, designed that logic app in my Lognetex workspace when I was defining it there, right? In my Defender, when I was defining that workload protection, right? How can I protect my workload? I can say that incident has been triggered, L1 has been notified, block that stuff. The same thing I'm going to do it while logic app, right? I'm automatically, whenever that incident getting generated, I'll going to tell that Sentinel, hey, incident generated. Now run that playbook. That playbook is logic app. Okay. So it's very, very, very vast thing, very kind of complex as well if you are getting aware for the first time. But that's all about the Sentinel on the theoretically base, right? I'm going to tell more topics here. Let's come back on my PPT. But so far, any doubt here? Any question, guys, if you have it?
So the SOAR part, it is in the layer 7 or it will make it in layer 3? How it will block?
No, it's going to block. It's not. It's going to block that. So that logic app which I'm defining it, right? The logic app I'm defining it. How it's going to block? I'm going to show you. I need to define some parameter here, right? I need to define some parameter. So this automated stuffs. So I said that automatically, but that automatically needs to define somewhere, right? I'm going to define that pattern, how this is going to be blocked there on my logic app. This you're going to understand when I'm going to configure this logic app. But for now, take the pause here on that how we are going to do that. I'm going to do it via logic app. How? I'm going to show it when when I'm configuring it in a while that logic app.
Okay,
Then it makes
it
more
is
sense to you, right?
only through that logic app, not by Palo Alto.
No, on the so Palo Alto is one thing, right? Palo, let's say you collected the log via Palo Alto, right? You collected the log via Palo Alto, you send that logs. One second, let me. This is your Palo Alto, right?
Yeah.
That Palo Alto is sending the logs now onto the Azure. Palo Alto
Yes.
is sending the logs onto the Azure via Loglytics workspace, correct? With that
Yes.
agent installation, now logs are getting stored in your workspace. Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Sentinel.
Yeah, you are not going to work anymore on the Palo Alto firewall. Now, everything that you are doing to do it, you are going to do it on the Azure level.
Okay.
Right? You did that. You did that. You get that logs, aggregated the logs. Threats has been detected by the analytics rule, which you are defining it there. Correct? Threats has been detected by the analytics rule. Right? Now, that after that, I mean, it's going to create that incident, notifying your L1, right?
Yeah. Up
Generating
to
a log.
this part, I
Now, this
understood.
this is there, right? Now the SOAR part will come. The SOAR part will come. SOAR will automatically going to respond it there, right? Now, I'm saying it, hey, if that is happened, right? Let's say the person IP is 1.1.1.1, 1.1.1.1, right? If so anything, any incident has been triggered on the SIEM level, incident has been triggered. I'm saying it, incident has been triggered. Now the first next stage is as an automation part, run my playbook. Run my playbook. That playbook I'm going to configure as a logic app, right?
Okay.
It's going to run that logic app which you define it there. Let's say the demo logic app. Let's say the demo logic app we are defining it, right? Now demo logic app is going to be run it now. Now, what is inside that logic app? It's going to trigger that. So I'm going to configure my logic app. I'm going to do that logic app designing. I'll show you how. That's what I was said. I'm going to design my logic app designing it here. And I'll say it whenever anything which you're taking that, take that details from the incident which you created, right? Take the detail from the incident. Now send that email, right? Now notify your L1 and all the stuffs there, right? The not as a part of the response there, right? Action, what I'm saying it, action. What action you're going to do it? I need to block that IP. So block that IP. Block that IP first thing on. Block that IP on Palo Alto firewall. So automatically it's going to do that. It's going to trigger that incident and it's going to block that IP. Or I'm saying it the front end load balancer. I mean, firewall is here, right? In front of the firewall, you will be having a load balancer. That's the configuration is there on that Azure, right? Front end load balancer, back end load balancer. So I'm saying it block that level on that load balancer level. Stop that IP to communicate with my load balancer. So I'm going to block that as load balancer there, right? So all that
This will not, the logic app will initiate the request to do the action. Palo Alto will take the action, right?
correct. But so you don't have to go on that Palo Alto firewall and manually block that IP. Logic app on that logic app will define that action. It's going to trigger and it's going to block that IP automatically on the firewall.
Okay. For example, one SSH session is keep on doing to that machine. And the remote session automatically enabled from the logic app, and it will go to the Palo Alto. Palo Alto will automatically block it.
Block that IP. So that's what we call SOAR.
SOAR.
You're
Okay.
talking about the SOAR, right? Before that SOAR, that like you said,
Yeah,
right?
that L1 event,
SS,
yes,
correct,
SIEM
correct,
event will be.
correct. So that's about the SIEM and SOAR. Any doubt so far on that? I'm going to tell more about that. It's a very SIEM and SOAR. The guy who is new to IT, right? If you guys have any question on that, feel free to ask. Okay. Now, let's jump to our PowerPoint, which I created, right? Here, come here. Now, let me put that into slide mode. Now, what is Sentinel? Now, what is Sentinel, right? So, SIEM and SOAR, we understand pretty good, right? We are good with that. SIEM plus SOAR, right? Now, what is Sentinel? Sentinel is the same thing. It's a combination of SIEM plus SOAR. Now, it's very easy to understand, right? SIEM plus SOAR, right? What it's going to provide you? It's going to provide you that intelligence on the analytics, threat detection, right? Automated response. Now, these things are making pretty easy to understand now, right? If I straightforwardly commit here, right, somewhere the guy who is not aware about that SIEM and SOAR, it will be difficult for them, right? That's why I've taken up 30 minutes of steps to understand, make you understand what is SIEM and SOAR. Now, if it's very easy, what is Sentinel? SIEM plus SOAR capabilities. What's it's going to do it there? It's going to provide a threat detection by the analytics tool and then automated response, right? Now, key feature, it's going to collect the data logs like that I was doing it my Palo Alto with the checkpoints. Collect logs and signals from Azure, AWS, GCP, on-prems, and third-party tools. It's going to detect that threat by the machine learning models and then unknown threats. It's also going to analyze your pattern. Let's say every day, like I was doing in my DDoS, right? Every day I'm saying it, 500 requests is coming on my application, right? So if you have that DDoS plus Sentinel configured, it's going to analyze that machine learning and AI ML concept. It's going to analyze that, and all of a sudden you started getting 5,000 requests per second. So it's going to look that pattern where exactly that 4,500 requests are started coming all of a sudden. Is that genuine? That pattern of your request, is that like what data, detailed data message it contains, and then if any predefined patterns like that, any scripts which is like contains the threat, it's going to block that things as well. Now, that in investigation and response, that we understand it's going to do that investigation and response. Integration, it's like it can be integrated, it will be integrated, and we can do that with the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, right? In my previous class, I told you Defender for Cloud. And at the same time, I was telling you that Defender for Cloud is have the different flavor for different services, like Defender for Kubernetes, Defender for virtual machine, we call it as a Defender for server, Defender for storage account, or what else? This security center is now renamed as a Defender, right? Now these stuffs we can do as a key feature there. Okay. Now, if I'll go further, using benefits of Sentinel. So you are going to do that. It's a scalable and cloud native, right? Everything which you are going to, so the logs which are storing it, I told you in my few minutes back, Sentinels needs a dedicated workspace. Sentinel need a dedicated workspace. Now, first thing, the charge you are going to pay, the amount of data you are ingesting into a Sentinel. The amount of data you are ingesting into a Sentinel. So let's say every day you are ingesting 200 gigs of data, 200 gigs of data, right? For an example, or 400 gigs of data, right? So you are sure that this is like that value, that this is that amount of value you are going to ingest it. So you can opt for that cost. You can opt for the cost. You're saying, hey, every day I need 400 gigs of space to storage. Or somewhere, someday you are getting 200 gigs of data, or someday you're only getting 5 gigs of data. Or next day you're getting 150 gigs of data. So it's asymmetric. You're not following any, you're not doing any, like say, you're not saying that in this way, you cannot say like every day I'm getting 400 gigs of data, right? So that things you can opt for as a pay as you go. Pay as you go, which I means every day the amount of data which I'm putting it, only for that charge me. If I'm putting 5 gigs of data, charge me for that 5 gigs of data ingestion. If I'm doing it 150, charge me for that 150. But if you're opting for a fixed amount of data, the charge will be obviously low. Think about this way: if I'm saying it, buying the items in a bulk, right? So it's going to charge me less compared to that which I'm going to buy it in a single unit, right? So this about that. So it's scalable. If you are 150 gigs of data one day, 5 gigs of data one day, and now all of a sudden 250 gigs, 205, 2500 gigs of data, that also it's going to store it. So it's scalable, no issue with that one, right? You don't have to worry about that storage capabilities, because everything is going to be happen when it's going to analyze the logs. Sentinel is only going to work if you're not ingesting the logs there. Sentinel is of no use, right? So if you are not ingesting the data, nothing is going to be happen, right? So that amount of data you are going to ingest, it's going to analyze that, right? So first thing is there. The other cost parameter is also there, which I am going to cover. I mean later on we have the topic for the cost model as well. Now it's going to do that scalable and cloud native. Azure native solution is there, right? It's Azure native service. So very easy to integrate with the different Azure native solution. Azure services which is there, like Defender, DDoS, right? Next generation firewall with firewall, like with checkpoint, with that checkpoint Palo Alto, Azure firewall, Fortigate, Sonic wall, whatever that you name it, Azure have that connection with them as well. It's a real-time analysis. It's a NRT solution it's going to provide. It's a real-time threats. It's a NRT, real-time data it's going to provide you there, right? Near real times, right? Now, it's continuously going to monitor an intelligent part there. Apart from that, you can create your customized dashboard where you are saying it, hey, these are the things. Let's say my Palo Alto unit is there. I want that whatever happened, right? Whatever that amount of data I'm ingesting, the incident, that threats happen, show me that in my dashboard. So you can pin that dashboard, you can create that dashboard, and you can manage everything on that dashboard. So that capability is also Azure is providing to you. Now, come here, data and connector, works, analytics, playbooks, and these ones. Now, what does these mean? So far, right? I told you, if Palo Alto firewall is there, or forget about anything, right? Any next generation, I'm instead of putting the Palo Alto, I'm saying it, any Nginx firewall is there, right? Now, so first thing, what I'm doing it, I'm collecting the logs from there, right? So logs, which is I'm connecting it, it's going to store it inside the log analytics workspace, which is Sentinel dedicated workspace, right? So now, how I'm going to make sure that Palo Alto is ingesting the log? You configure that log analytics workspace, right? You configure that agent there, right? First thing, that agent script which you got to get, right? The law agent script you configured on that Palo Alto firewall. But once you do that, once you configure that log analytics workspace configuration, right? Agent configuration is there. The data connector, until and unless, right? The Palo Alto will also have its own data connector on that Sentinel. If you configure that analytics workspace is there, agent configuration is there. If data connectors, which means the different service connector, if it's not showing you connected, if it's not showing you connected, it means the connection between that lognetic Sentinel or lognetic workspace with that next generation firewall is not happened yet. Now you need to troubleshoot that issue, right? So connector is, it's a pre-built connector for seamless integration and Microsoft third-party services. All services, whether it's a checkpoint will have its own data connector on that Sentinel, right? If I'll tell it WAF, whether it's Azure WAF or any Barracuda, or it's a for like what else is like F5 load balancer WAF, right? Or any other WAF is there. So that connector is also available. You need to make sure the data connector status shows as connected. Only then the logs is getting ingested into your log. For that, it's going to provide you that steps. Like I said, log analytics workspace agent, right? Workspace agent script. You're going to get it. From where you're going to get it? You're going to get it from the connector. It's showing you to install that stuff onto your connector. You need to run that command there, right? Once you install that command, the connector should show as a connected for the Palo Alto. If it's not showing, you need to troubleshoot that. You need to look into that. But this is the step to do that. Connector is predefined connector which is there for the seamless integration there. For my Palo Alto, now this Palo Alto, I need to send the logs to my Sentinel workspace, right? How I'm going to do that? Like say this is my dedicated workspace for the Sentinel. You need to go in the work connector there. You're going to get some steps. Like here I'm saying it, I need to install that law agent on my Palo Alto firewall. I understand. I know that because I did that. So it's going to provide me that stubs there along with that script also, which I need to install it on my workspace. Even then, after the connector is not staying connected, you need to troubleshoot that further, right? Now, analytics rules, we already discussed it. It's a custom rule to generate the alert base or specific pattern or anomalies. Like I said, like Windows-based login failed 10 times, right? But you need to define that pattern there. You need to specify that pattern, right? Or this is abnormalities to you, right? So that you can define in a KQL, custom query language, right? You guys need to understand on that KQL, what is KQL, right? Everything on that Azure is happened on that KQL level. You're not going to get a very good view of your GUI view like we do in Palo Alto, in other one. Altogether, if you're not want to store that logs using the Azure Managed Services, you can do that. Datadogs are there. Datadog, it's a Google provided services are there. Datadog, right? Or what else is there? Prometheus is there, right? Other services are there. Grafana is there. Other services are there which you can integrate, but on the Azure monitor, you need to run that KQL query to understand that what is going on. Okay, so the analytics rule, I'm defining that pattern or anomalies, that this is the anomalies to me, and based on that, things are happened. What is workbook? Like I said, right? Workbook is a real-time dashboard. Like say you created a predefined workbook, also you're going to get it on the ISO. I'm saying it, this is my workbook. Eh? Everything is summarized it here. Like on that Palo Alto scenarios, how many traffics in and out, how many incident has been generated, right? What is the current values of my metrics, CPU and everything? Any threats has been, so everything you're going to get it into one place. It's a, we call it as a workbook, like the dashboard, you can say in a simple one, right? You can create your own workbook as well. Let's say you do not want this part, right? So you can create that own. So that's just a visual dashboard where you everything you're going to see it in a graphical manner with the numbers to be represented at the below, right? Now playbook, like I was talking about the logic app, which I'm going to send it as a part of my response there to the incidents which is getting generated there. These are all that four component which we talked. It's a major component for that Sentinel to work. Connector, analytics rule, workbook, right? Playbook. Okay. Now, these are the stuffs. These are the component on that ISO. Benefit also we discuss scalable, real-time, unified dashboard, core component, connector, right? Like I'm connecting my Palo to firewall, or I'm connecting my WAF. Then also I need to run that Azure WAF, let's say, which is inbuilt solution of Azure. Then also what steps I need to do it? I need to get it in my connector, right?
Do you have any screenshot like both and how we will configure? Like in Panorama, do we want to configure the same, right? The connectors.
You on the panorama, you won't get that panorama, you'll get that Palo Alto connector there. I'm going to show you that, right? Once I'll come on the demo, but
Oh,
just keep that things in a mind, right? If you want to show me now, I can do that as well. But before that, let's come the theoretical part. Then once I'll do it, right? You'll get to know this. You can relate that stuff with the things which you are discussing it here, right? So that's what I'm saying it here. I'll show you if you want to show me it now, I'll do it that. But before that, let's understand these things, right? What these things, if I straightforwardly go and say that, hey, these are the connector, these are analytics, the things are not make that much of a sense. Like if I'll make it more, explain it here, right? So these are the component, connector, analytics rule, workbook and playbook. Okay. Now, what else are there? If I'll go in my this is that Sentinel workflow, which I got that picture on the internet, which I kept in my PPT. This is the workflow. What things is happening it here? First thing is you are keeping that logs. You are putting every logs. Your first thing logs has been connected, like logs has been ingested into a Sentinel workspace. After that, analytics rule, that matter, the pattern which you define, correct? The pattern which you define, that like I was talking about Windows based login, right? 10 times Windows based login failure time. So you need to define some pattern, block that. That comes with the analytics rule. You define that pattern, analytics is there, right? Alert. Alert has been generated. Incident, right? The alert has been along with the, I mean, Sentinel is going to generate the alert and then also generate the incident. We are going to see all these things in a demo, right? You can do that manual investigation as well, right? There are hunting is there. You can do that hunting, right? You can do that hunting by itself, right? And then automation rule, which I'm going to define it with my logic app to run that playbook rule, run that logic app.
Up to
It's going to
incident,
trigger
it
that.
is SIEM, and
It's a
after
SIEM.
that, it is
It's a
SOAR.
SOAR, correct.
Thank you.
Before that, it's a SIEM, till here SIEM, right? Now here SOAR. So this is that entire workflow of the Sentinel. Now, tell me one thing, right? I mean, I know we have not gone to that demo or we have not gone to the practical, but these things are, if I'll talk about the theoretical way, you're getting it, right? What is that Sentinel ingesting law? What is that analytics rule? By analytics rule, I mean it. What is alert and incident has happened? What is that automation rule? What this playbook means here, right? So this is what I was trying to communicate here. Now, key uses of your Sentinel, right? What is that key uses? It's going to be happening there, right? Now, before that, let's do one thing. Now, these are the some post uses, post stubs which we can discuss. Like once we'll cover that Sentinel demo, right? Now, these are integration services. I'm going to cover it here. Real-time world scenarios, right? And now before that pricing matter, let's just discuss the pricing matter and then we'll come on the rest of the points, right? What is the pricing matter? First thing is you need to pay the amount of data you're ingesting it. If you ingested 100 gigs of data, you need to pay that amount. You ingested 2 gigs of data, you need to pay that amount. First thing, ingestion base. Just not only these things, right? You need to have other cost things also in your mind. How many days you want to retain that logs which you ingested inside the Sentinel, right? If you're ingesting it for 270 days, right? As per your company policies, then you need to pay that 270 days of the log ingestion on that Sentinel workspace. The logic app which I'm running it there, right? That also you need to pay the cost. It's an additional cost, you need to pay that. The logic app which you are keeping it for that automatic response, that also you need to pay that cost to the Azure on that invoice. The pricing model is going to be taken care by three things: ingestion model, retention base, and then automation cost. Okay. Let's just let me click this also. Key uses, what is that key uses? Like we said, right? I'm going to identify I'm phishing at any kind of attack which is happened with my Sentinel. I'm going to get that with the data connector, which all the data connector I have it there, right? It's also going to monitor your compliance, like PSI, DSS, right? GDPR or HIPAA, all that. Automatically, incident responses happen there. Integration can be done with the Sentinel, with the like Defender for Cloud, third-party tools like Palo Alto, Cisco, AWS, and many more there. Now, if I'm going to configure my Sentinel, right? Let me do that. Let me open let me quickly jump to my this uh, home here. Now, what I'm going to do it here, right? Let me do one thing. Let me quickly, straightforwardly go and create the Sentinel. I have not created the workspace, right? I have not created anything, but I told you Sentinel needs a dedicated workspace, right? So it's going to ask me create a workspace. See, inside the Sentinel, when I'm going to create the Sentinel, it's asking me to create that workspace, right? So if I'll create the workspace, it's going to attach that workspace to the Sentinel. Now, before that, let me create some resource so that Sentinel will analyze that these are the resources for which alert has been generated. Makes sense, right? I need to have something in place. What I'm saying it here, if I'm saying it Palo Alto firewall is there, which means Palo Alto firewall needs to be in a place. If I'm saying it, for that, let's say I'm configuring a virtual machine, and that virtual machine is going to send the logs to your Sentinel, right? Sentinel, and then Sentinel is going to trigger that incident, automating the response basis on that alert which is generated on the Sentinel. Okay, so let me do one thing. Let me first, before creating the Sentinel, I'm going to create that virtual machine here. Very simple. I'm going to create that virtual machine here. Let me name a resource group called demo. Demo VM. Calling as a demo VM here.
So this is source VM, or it
This
is
is my source VM, right? Which is generating, which is on which I'm going to generate my incident,
okay.
correct? Like the Palo Alto firewall in your case.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I'm just configuring it here. I can generate any resources like the storage account, load balancer, application gateway, anything which I need to do it, I can do it there. But let's just take it things as I'm going to do it for my virtual machine here. Now, let me standard workspace. We are going to take a break of 50 minutes at 10:30. Right? So till that time, I'm configuring these resources. Let me tell you one thing here. But before that, let me pause the recording for a while. Okay. Now what happened? My VM has been deployed. Okay. VM has been deployed. Now let's go do that Sentinel workspace configuration. Sentinel configuration. I do not have any workspace yet, right? It's asking me to create the workspace. What if you have that workspace, it's going to ask, hey, which workspace you want to use it there for the Sentinel. But I do not have it there, right? It's going to ask me that. Apart from that, if you see it there, right, it's offering me 31 days trial. Even if you're working in a corporate, right, it's going to offer you 31-day free trial. And then after, it's going to charge you. If I'll click on the pricing part here, right, it's going to see one thing more I want to tell you. Anything, if you are not sure about the price, right, there is a very one good tool Azure provide. We call it Azure pricing calculator, right? Azure pricing calculator. Anything which you want to do, you can come it here, you can put your requirement, and then it's going to provide you a estimate cost. Let's say for an example, I want that virtual machine. Okay. I'm saying it, I want that virtual machine there. What will be the cost of my virtual machine? Right now it's going to tell me, okay, you want that virtual machine, what is that configuration you want, right? I'm saying it one core, 0.7 gigs of RAM, or I can add it there, then it's going to provide me the others also. It's showing that upfront cost $13 for one core of CPU, means one CPU 0.7 MB GB gigs of RAM, right, for 1 minute of time as a pay-as-you-go solution here. Now let's say the region has been east to west, you can put it there, like say I'm saying it's Central India. Central India, the Windows will be operating system, OS, tier. I mean, this is on that to charge you, like if you have a standard or the basic tier, right? Category, instance, everything. If you use 0.575, let's say I'm using higher. I want that. I want to use 8 core of RAM and 8 core of CPU, which means uh, 8 core of CPU, 14 gigs of RAM, right? And storage is 605 gigs of storage, right? Now, you want that license to be included, right? Or you want to bring your own license. That depends on you. The cost is going to save you, it's like $573 per month. It's not the upfront cost, it depends on that, the consumption you are doing it, but the monthly cost is come out to be somewhere near this, right? So you can calculate all that services basis on like which services you want that, like storage account, SQL database, Kubernetes, app service, everything is there, right? Networking, if you come in a networking, virtual network manager, load balancing, application gateway, VPN gateway, DNS, everything is there. So you can utilize that. Once you join any organization, if let's say customer will come to you, right? And they will ask, hey, I want to integrate that Azure firewall, right? And into this reason, how much cost is going to be happen? So you can say that, hey, the tentative cost is going to be this one, but depends on the customer consumption of that. Okay. Now, so that's what it is. create that workspace. I'm trying to cover everything, right, which I am aware about and which as a networking, as a security guy, you need to have it there. Okay. So demo law. Always follow a nomenclature. Not for this, I'm following it because this is just a demo, but always follow a nomenclature basis on that company's policies, what uh, you are having it there. But Microsoft have their own nomenclature that they recommend. If I'll show you that, Microsoft Azure nomenclature. All this difference, right? They follow that. Let's say resource type is my public IP. So that PIP, right? Workload or application, it's my SharePoint or anything like, right? Whatever the environment, dev, prod, stage, right? And then what reason you have deployed, and then instance count. Right? This is what they follow, right? If your organization is having some other different nomenclature, follow that, right? But always deploy the resources as a nomenclature. Now, resource has been deployed, nomenclature, this demo log one has been created. Now, if I'll go on my Sentinel, now I can create my Sentinel because workspace has been created. See this one. This is that workspace is going to be attached there with my Sentinel demo log, right? Click on add. Now this workspace is going to be added with my Sentinel, a dedicated workspace for the Sentinel. It's going to specify that a 30 days free trial has been activated, right? Okay, click on OK. Now you landed on the page of your Sentinel. You landed on the page of the Sentinel. Let me explain all these things here, right? Now, once you landed there, right, you will see everything on that Sentinel level. If I'll go on the overview, currently no incidents are there because nothing has been configured. No automation has been done with last 24 hours because this is nothing fresh new, right? If you look at this one, data connector, analytics, right? And then hunting is there, which we discuss. What is content hub? I'll tell you. But if you come here, you'll find that incident here, right? A workbook which has could a disk, a dashboard visualization of your stuffs, right? And then threat intelligence where you are doing that hunting, right? And finding out the resources there. Content hub is something where you find everything. It's a content. I mean, it's a hub of everything. Hub of everything means it will show you predefined analytics rule, which is there, playbook. Sorry, not the playbook. Playbook is the logic. Workbook, right? And then thread hunting. Also, there are some rules for the thread hunting, right? Everything you are going to get that inside that connector. Data connector is something which I was talking about. Like if you have Palo Alto, if the data is not getting connected, it not be able to ingest that logs there. Okay. So these are the things are there. We are going to discuss each and everything one by one, right? And then we'll move it further. We'll take some time for the Sentinel to cover because it's a very bigger topic and we'll take some time to cover, right? Let's just do one thing. Let's just take a 15 minutes of break, right? And then meet up at 10:45 IST, and then we are going to cover the practical things now. So far, we only discussed that theoretical steps, right? We have not reached out on that practical steps, but now we are going to start that practical steps, and we are going to see everything on the practical things. So please stay tuned with me. Let's come back on 10:45. Thanks, guys. Let me stop the recording for a while now. Okay. So far, the things we discussed is like theoretically way we discussed like what is SIEM, what is SOAR, right? What is the different component which is needed for the Sentinel, how Sentinel works, what is the workflow of that Sentinel, benefit, right? Security model, pricing model, key uses and real world scenarios, right? Now, what I did so far, I configured that virtual machine as well, not the configuration. I spin out that virtual machine, right? Just so that I have some resource which can ingest the data in my workspace of my Sentinel workspace. Okay. This is what I did. One second. Now, so after that, so VM has been configured. Now I configured that Sentinel, but before that Sentinel, I need a workspace. So I configured a workspace, and then that workspace I attached with my Sentinel. This is what I did so far, right? Now, let's do that configuration of the Sentinel. So it can generate that incident, it can automate the response, and it can send me that incident details. Now, uh, so here, if you see it here, right, I'll say it, there are multiple components of that Sentinel is there. This is for the threat management. This is for the content management. Now, if you look at this content hub, this is very important. Content hub is a solution, right? You can say it is a solution. What I mean by solution here, this solution contains everything, right? It will have that your uh, workbook also, where you can see that dashboard, right? And everything is there. You will have that predefined analytics tool also. You can create your own analytics tools as well, but predefined is also there, right? Predefined analytics rule. And what else? You will have some predefined threat management that is you can use for the hunting, right? Like you want to make sure that hunting means like if this particular person is generating the attack every time, right? You can analyze that what kind of attack is this, where the person is coming from, what is that IP address, all this you can do it in a hunting. The threat hunting, predefined threat hunting templates are also there, right? And the what else? So a predefined a solution which contains everything is there, right? Everything will be it here. So let's do one thing. Let's first go in my content hub. So if I'll click on content hub here, if I'll click on my content hub, see, currently there are 371 solutions, which means for Amazon Web Service is one, Azure Activity is there, Cisco Umbrella is the one, Google Cloud is there, right? What else? Microsoft Defender for XDR, Entra ID, right? Security threat detection, SOAR, virus total, everything, right? See, so many. I mean, some of them I even don't know, right? Akamai is also there, Alibaba is also there. So many solution is there, right? Currently, how I mean, there is zero install has been done, right? Because we have not done anything. So let's do one thing. Let's install this Azure Activity because we have that solution. And what Azure Activity will do, you can see it here, right? Let me put this here. Second. Right? This Azure Activity is there currently. Now, what happened with this Azure Activity? It's showing that Azure Activity is a solution for Microsoft, which enables you to ingest that Azure Activity administrative, security, service, right? Health, alert recommendation, auto scale, health logs, diagnostic settings, everything is there, right? How many data connectors are there? One data connector, which will be Azure Activity. How many playbooks are there? Workbook are there? One workbook, which you can use it for your dashboard part. How many predefined analytics tools are there? 12 analytics tools. How many hunting queries are there, which I can use to hunt my incident detail, right? All these things are, it's a solution. That's what we call it. Everything is in a one place, right? Or you can use that security also there, right? Windows security, like we install that Windows machine. So Windows security, where is that Windows security? Windows security. or it's a security. I mean, there's one solution which I remembered, security. Come down, security. Security. Let me see that solution for the security, right? Which will send the logs for the security event from the VM to Sentinel workspace.
Generally, in a real world scenario, big companies, how they will start.
So in company scenario, right? In real world scenario, what happened? What they do, they integrate that public facing devices, right? If I'll say it there, like if I'll talk about a normal architecture, right? Let's just take, if you ask this question, let me show you one thing, right? Okay, let me try it here. What happened in the normal scenarios, right? If I'll talk about a genuine, easy architecture of that organization, what happened? They will first time some DNS solution, right? Where they will do that DNS lookup and all that, right? Let's say this is my DNS stubs are there. After the DNS, what they will do? They will have some load balancer, right? A load balancer, a public facing load balancer. Public facing load balancer is there, right? Which will, let's say xyz.com is there for an example. This is my xyz.com application, right? Now, and this xyz.com is a domain of mine. So what DNS will do, first thing, right? This person is there who's trying to access this internet, right? So entire flow, how the entire flow will happen. First thing is this person will reach out to a DNS load balancer or DNS management and will say, hey, give me that IP of that xyz.com. Let's say the person gives that xyz.com IP as 1.1.1.1. Now this IP is nothing, it's a load balancer public IP. The traffic will reach out to that public load passing load balancer, right? Now this is my 1.1.1 is public facing, right? Below that, let's say I integrate that firewall. Okay, this is my any firewall, let's say Palo Alto firewall, PAN OS. Okay, now the PAN OS is there, traffic will reach out to the PAN OS, right? I mean, previously, if you remember, I told you that I can integrate my WAF, Azure WAF as a parallel solution there, right? Right. So what I can do, I can integrate that parallel solution as a WAF there, right? Now, after that PAN OS, right? Let's say I'm putting another device which we call it as a ingress, like nginx ingress for my load for my Kubernetes, right? Ingress load balancer, right? So whether it can be nginx, Kong, or any third party, right? So after that ingress, the traffic will reach out to my application. Let's say that application has been configured on Kubernetes, right? This is my Kubernetes. Now, this is a normal architecture. Scenario based, a very easy solution is there, right? On the Kubernetes, my micro application has been deployed, microservices has been deployed. Okay. Now, what happened? The return traffic, I'm not talking about the monitoring and everything is there, right? Now, where the Sentinel will come in a picture. Let's say you have the Sentinel. The Sentinel is there, right? So first thing is you can integrate this public IP. This public IP is attached to your firewall. This public IP is attached to your firewall, right? So you can integrate this public IP or you can integrate the data connector of your Palo Alto firewall. I'll show you Palo Alto firewall or checkpoint firewall, Palo Alto firewall data connector with that Sentinel, right? And then this log analytics workspace agent, everything that we discussed, right? You can integrate that. So company will first integrate that public facing device like the load balancer is there, PAN OS is there, Azure WAF is there with the Sentinel. So that a centralized log for your WAF, for your PAN, for your load balancer, and even with that VPN also, let's say you are using that VPN and that VPN gateway logs also you can send it to a Sentinel. So this is what they do. That security devices like WAF, load balancer, firewall, right, VPN gateway, they integrate with that Sentinel. Even DDoS is also there. The DDoS also you can integrate with them. I hope this
Okay,
answers your question. Yeah.
how they
Yeah.
will choose, like you are showing like the Azure activity, like that, how they will choose based on
Okay. Let's say I'm choosing, okay, let's say I'm choosing for the firewall. Let's say I'm choosing it for checkpoint firewall. Okay. So what I can do, first thing is, if we, I mean, so many times we discuss log analytics workspace, right? Agent installation on that checkpoint firewall console. Okay. This checkpoint firewall console, everything you did it. Now logs are getting started coming on the checkpoint, on that Sentinel workspace. This thing is clear, right? How can I do that? Sentinel workspace log Sentinel, sending the logs to a Sentinel.
Yes, yes.
Okay, now this is that, right? So if you do that, if you come, the data connector here, on the data connector, currently no data connector has been connected, nothing is there, right? So if I'll select it here, if I'll say the checkpoint is there, right? Or the Palo Alto will also, you'll get it there. Checkpoint, I'm saying it because checkpoint I integrated with my Sentinel. So if I'll say it checkpoint here, data connector, once again, let me refresh. Why it's showing 0 data connector? Okay, sorry, data connector. Checkpoint or cloud guard. Yeah, see, this checkpoint is there, right? So this checkpoint, you need to install that first as a solution there, or Palo Alto. Let me see, Palo Alto is also there. Not sure about the, yeah, Palo Alto is the next generation firewall, right? So what you need to do, you need to install that solution there, right? Let's say I'm doing it. So logs, checkpoint, I'm installing it for the checkpoint. Select this one. Now what this content, what this solution is content inside my checkpoint, one playbook, right? And then you can define your uh, own analytics rule. Let's say I'm creating it, installing it there. It won't take much time for the installing of this one. Now this solution has been installed, right? Now what you need to do next, you need to click on manage. You can go in a manage. You go in a manage. Now see this one. What this solution is offering to you, this solution is offering to you one workbook, okay, and one playbook. This playbook is what? It's a playbook of logic app. Open this logic app. It's a predefined logic app. You do not have to configure it. Okay. This is that logic app. This is that logic app. They have configured the Sentinel, its own provided logic app. Now you can modify this one. You can create your own logic app and design it there. But before that, currently I do not have my logs are getting coming on that uh, on this one on Sentinel workspace, right? So what I need to do it here, I just select it there. This is my playbook name. I'm saying it checkpoint add to host group, right? Next as in parameter, right? I'll need to say the connector name, but I do not have that checkpoint connected as of now. I mean that file logs has not been configured there, right? So I cannot do that, but it's going to tell me that this thing. I need to enter the checkpoint API gateway and then create that connection there and then click on create. I'll show you for this one, for that Sentinel, for this VM that we are creating it. But this is the way you can configure that. Once you configure that playbook, automated response will configure. But before that, you need to have the logs there to define the analytics rule, right? How you can define the analytics so you can analyze that that incident has been triggered. You need to commit here, click on that schedule query. You're getting me, right?
Yeah. So this
So
is
you
like the syslog logs, like informational, critical, like that, right?
correct. So if you remember, I said, right, there are common event format or syslog
Yeah.
log, right? For
Yeah.
that also, let's say checkpoint is generating a log in a syslog manner, right?
Okay.
For
Okay.
syslog also, you need to have one connector. Come here for syslog. Otherwise, the logs, how that this guy will get to know that this is that syslog event format, right?
So every
Otherwise, it
every
will
platform we will get a connector here.
correct for every platform. Everything will get the connector.
Okay.
What will be the syslog? I say that previously it was syslog. Now what they are saying it there. For everything, you're going to get that connector for every
Okay.
solution, right?
Okay.
Well, I'm not sure why it shouldn't show 0 here.
So
It should not
after the
be.
connector, the next
Mhm.
step is
First thing is ingest the logs onto the Sentinel workspace.
okay.
Okay. And how you're going to do that? So we are going to do that. Let's say I'm doing it for Windows, my VM which I've configured, right? I'm going to cover in my content hub. So security, just trying to find out what we call that. Security threat. No, this is not. Windows security. So Windows. This is you're saying that custom log AMA, right? This is log, I mean, isn't this is for log analytics agent. You can configure that custom as well. There are many characters you are going to get that.
Yeah, no problem. We can do that
This
Windows.
correct. This Windows security event, right? So this Windows security event, I'm going to install this one. And what this it contains all, it's going to contain that two data connector, right? Data connector, you understand, right? What I was mean by data connector. Two data connector, two
Yeah.
workbook, 20 analytics rule, predefined, and 50 hunting query. This is many things to make you understand, right? That's why I'm selecting this one. And
So
you can click
hunting
on the.
query means we will give one query, right? The
I'll
limitation
give
is
one
up to
correct.
50.
I'll give one query basis on my resources. It's going to give me more detail about my incident, right?
Okay.
Where that IP is coming, where the details are coming, and all that. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to get.
Okay, we'll
Okay,
come one by one.
correct. Click on view details more here, right? See everything you're going to get it here. There are two. One is legacy agent. I'm not going to do that for the legacy agent. I'm going to install this AMA, which is security event logs into your log analytics workspace. It's going to enable that Azure monitor service, which I'm going to tell you in the next chapter, but this is what it's going to do it, right? And then come down here. I mean, queries, everything I'm going to tell you that, but two workbook, two data connector and everything. Now let's do one thing. Come back and install this solution. I'm installing this solution. Once the solution will install, I'm going to manage it. I'm going to create it as a manager. Now click on manage. So I install the solution. Now I'm opening this Windows security event for managing it. Now look at there. How many things are it's containing it there, right? If you look at this one, these two are the data connectors, correct? Security event as a legacy agent and then Windows security event as an AMA, right? So what I'm going to do it there, I'll open this agent, open this data connector, right? Open this data connector here. This data connector, right? Open connector page. Currently it's showing disconnected. It should show connected. Otherwise my logs will not commit there. I'm opening connector page here. I'm opening connector page. And at the same time, let's do one more thing, right? Go in my virtual machine. But no, that's not needed because this is a virtual machine. For that, need to come it here. Open this connector page here. Now look at this one. It's going to tell you everything, right? What you can do it there, integrate with your solution, work, space, data, read and write. For that, there are some prerequisites, right? The data server which you are creating, it should have that read and write solution. And then I'm collecting the logs from my Windows, right? So I need to create a collection rule, data collection rule there. This is going to be differ for each agent we're installing it. Like in my checkpoint, I need to integrate that with my log native workspace with that Palo Alto and then need to connect my data connector with that script. Similarly here, I need to create a data collection rule. Now let's do one thing, create a data collection rule so that my Windows can send the my Windows VM can send the logs to my Sentinel workspace. I'm saying it. Let's say I'm saying it rule 22. Right? Demo resource group. Next resource. Now, what is your resource you are trying to get that logs from there? Either I can select on the subscription base also. Let's say entire subscription I'm selecting it. Or inside my demo, what things are I'm there? This demo VM is there, correct? Let's me select this one. So I'm selecting this one. Click on next. This is my demo VM which is there, right? Now, what kind of logs you want to collect? Whether it's a common event format, minimal, custom, or anything, right? I'm saying it all security event. Click on all security event. So this is what I'm creating a uh, data collection rule so that logs can be ingested inside my data from my virtual machine. This is
It
done.
is like giving permission to the
Exactly.
Windows
Permission also
machine.
you need to give that, right? Permission also you need to give that. I'll commit there. For Sentinel, giving that not the permission, it's saying it. I'm creating so virtual machine is there, right? Virtual
Yeah.
machine is there. For that virtual machine, I need to send the logs. Like in my Palo Alto, what I was doing it there, right? I was installing the log text workspace agent, correct? Agent, I was installing it there, and then after that agent getting installed, my data connector status will show as a connector
Yeah.
connected, right? But I was installing that Logitech workspace agent on my Palo Alto, right? But here my Windows VSIM, I'm not doing such thing, right? So what I need to do it because it's an inbuilt solution, inbuilt service of Azure on that workspace of that here, right? I'm creating a data collection so that
What
this
data
VM,
we have to collect that
correct, from that
the
virtual
definition.
machine,
Yeah. Okay.
correct. What data, what logs, what types of log I want to collect from this virtual machine. For that, I'm creating this data collection rule.
Good. Good.
Correct. So I created data collection rule here. Now, this is done. Go back there. Go back there. So you did that, right? Currently it's showing disconnected. Now show it's showing connected now. If you can see that, right? I just created data collection rule and then installed that solution. Now my this Windows security event is connected. To whom? Connected to my virtual machine. Look at this part. Like the same way for your firewall also, it should show connected, right? Go back
Okay.
there.
For firewall, there is a different approach, like a script or something, right?
Correct. For the firewall, let me show you that firewall also. Let me show you that.
But thing is same. That data collection rule is same,
Correct.
but only
Everything will
script
remain
is
same. Correct.
okay.
Everything will remain same. For the checkpoint, let me show you that. First thing you need to correct the logs, right? Because checkpoint is or Palo Alto is third party. It's not the Azure based solution, right? It's a third party solution. It's not showing data connector here. It should show.
For that, we need a checkpoint firewall, right? In your
Obviously, otherwise you need the checkpoint firewall and integrate with them. Then only it will show that. But yeah. So what happened with that? Like that I was selecting, right? Let's say this is my data connector. I selected this data connector, and then it will show me that configuration. All that script part, everything is there, right? It will show that.
okay.
For other also like that WAF.
From the firewall engineer perspective, he has to configure anything in the firewall, like in
No,
the
on
Palo
the
Alto
firewall
firewall.
perspective, you need to configure that agent, right? That VM
Agent.
agent,
Okay.
right? That agent you need to configure on the firewall and make sure the firewall is capable of handling that uh, on that port of 514. This is that common event format port, right? And this is log also,
Log, yes, yes. So
right? So
only yeah. Okay.
yeah, only these two
Any
things you need to do that, and then make sure.
key like that we will have like secret key so that
No.
encrypted
So
traffic.
no, once you do install that, right, the traffic will always going to be encrypted, right? The Palo Alto which is sending, and you're sending it to that Azure Sentinel. It's going to be encrypted. Don't worry about that encryption and that one, because the Sentinel will always send that script in the encrypted format. So the logs which is going to be come in an encrypted, but the format it should be either on this common event or it should be either in syslog.
It's not common. Okay.
Correct. So you need to install the connector for them also. If you are sending, let's say logs are coming, right? But you're not seeing that logs. So make sure that syslog and then event format you're storing it there.
In the
And this
correct
your firewall should open to accept that port on 514.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Others are also getting it, right? What I'm saying is.
Usually in
Uh-huh.
companies, they who are managing the Palo Alto using Panorama, they will
Mhm.
send logs to Panorama or Palo Alto.
No, the logs will be saying to send to Panorama, but that script you're going to get it, you need to install that script on the Palo Alto. Then the Palo Alto will send to that Sentinel. I'm aware about the checkpoint, how you can do that. On the checkpoint, right, the logs which are taking it, you need to install that workspace agent on that Palo Alto, on the checkpoint server, not on the management server. So on the
Okay.
checkpoint,
No,
sorry,
why
on the
I'm
management,
asking is like
my bad, sorry, my bad. On that management server,
yeah,
not on that checkpoint firewall. Like the way you need to install it on the Panorama as well, because checkpoint is similar to your
yeah. Usually
Panorama.
the orchestration
Right.
tools only has to handle this, na?
Correct. So it should be on checkpoint management server and then on Panorama, right? So now let's do that thing. Let's go back to the content app. So I installed that. See, WAF is also there. Everything is there. You're going to get it. Imperva, WAF, or Fortinet or Barracuda. So now what happened? security I was talking about, or you can select that category, right? The content type here from status. So I can select that connected, the status which is installed. So Windows security. So currently this is installed, open that management. Now this is data connector is connected.
One thing, Sumit, if you want to install this plugin in the on-premises firewall, so how do you do you download this and you will carry that and you will install that in the panorama or somewhere, or how do you do you have any API keys to be integrated? Hello?
I think that is like configuring like a syslog. Instead of pointing to our on-premises syslog server, I think.
But syslog IP I need to give, which IP I need to
Yeah,
give?
same like that. Sentinel we have to give. They will have some script. We'll discuss. That only I asked him.
Sorry guys, my broadband got disconnected. Okay, let me share my screen again.
There
So
was
here,
a question by somebody like how you configure in the firewall. So you have any
how you configure on firewall what?
No, if
Yeah,
you have
remote.
on-premises firewall, so then you mean that you need to download this agent over here and you need to carry that and you will be installing firewall or panorama, or you have any
Correct.
API keys to be integrated.
So for that on-prem firewall, right? Let's say you have any vendor of firewall, you're using it there, right? So for that firewall, first thing what you need to do it there, first you need to set up the connectivity. Let's say via Express route or via VPN, you set up that connectivity there, right? Via that connectivity, you have that Azure connectivity is there, right? Now that connectivity, that firewall, whether it's running on that any of the cloud on that, I mean, sorry, it's running on the on-prem system. That on-prem, first thing you need to connect the connectivity, and then it's going to provide you with that content. It's going to provide you that content. Let's say again you have that Palo Alto. So what you need to do it there for the next generation firewall of the Palo Alto or Fortinet or any other solution you have it there, right? Let's say Fortinet, I'm saying it there. We see that solution
So
is
there
there.
must be an IPSec tunnel or
Exactly.
other
How then?
things
How
to
otherwise?
connect it.
How? Yeah. Two way
It's not
to have your
cloud solution.
connectivity. No, to have that. So no. So two way have to have that connectivity with the on-prem, either via the express route, which we discussed previously, and then side to side. That is also we discussed, right? Okay. Now let's back
Without
to this
that,
topic there
like
first.
any
Yeah.
cloud connectivity will not be possible, right? Without that,
No, without that,
possible.
won't be possible with these two solution, right? So for if you have any on-prem connectivity, right? If you have any on-prem stuffs, so what you need to do it there, you need to first set up that connectivity is there, and then you need to install that solution. Let me show you that.
He is asking about the firewall configuration towards Azure.
On that, sorry, if you're asking for the Azure, you're asking for the on-prem connectivity. When the
On-prem,
firewall has
on-prem
been
only.
yeah,
On-prem
so
only.
on-prem, I'm telling you, yeah, on-prem, I'm telling you that. On that Azure, right, you don't have to do anything. You just need to, that Azure is deploying it on that virtual machine, right? That infra as a virtual machine, and on top of that virtual machine, you're installing that firewall, like Palo Alto, Checkpoint, and Fortigate, right? So what you need to do on that console of that firewall, on the cloud side, I'm saying, on the console of that firewall, you need to install that Lognetics workspace agent, right? And then make sure the data is connected in a common event format and the syslog. That's it on that firewall side. Now on the
Also,
on-prem side, Mhm.
Yeah. So from on-prem side, suppose we don't have any express route or tunnel towards this
Then,
one.
this
Then
is
what
not going
way?
to work then. Then this is not going to work then.
So
If we
it
do
is
not
not
have that
like
connectivity, right?
no.
Private
It is not
connectivity.
like a private connectivity. We do not have private connectivity. We have the public connectivity, like via public internet or something.
Like
No, so
Microsoft
first thing is
Office
no.
365 services are there, right? Like, so we directly using only through internet, not like that. So this should be
No, so
uh,
if you're using the Microsoft services, right, Office 365 solution, right, that also you
uh,
can integrate with the Azure cloud. If you're using it on on-prem side, and then so Office 365, then you need to have the other solution. But if you are not having that, so one thing is, let's say you have your firewall, right, on the on-prem. I mean, you're saying it, you do not want to go with that on-prem connectivity. You want private connectivity, you want to go with the public connectivity. First thing is, no organization, right, not even a single organization, not in a small scale or large scale, is going to do that, going to opt for this solution, right? No one is going to expose their firewall, or no one is going to expose their firewall logs getting sent out to that on that public
through
internet to the
internet.
cloud, right? Through internet. No one
But
is going to do that, right?
yeah,
Right.
we
But
just need from the firewall engineering perspective, what they will
hmm,
configure in the firewall
so
towards this
on
Microsoft
correct
Sentinel.
on
You
yeah,
can
on
share
that
it
on-prem side, right?
later on.
Yeah, on the on-prem side, right? I'll show you that
Uh,
document on the on-prem side, but like just this Cisco umbrella, right?
yeah, who's
Which is
this?
on
Yeah,
that
yeah,
on-prem
yeah,
side,
this
right? This Cisco umbrella is there, right? So all that stuff which you need to do it there, right? Like say everything you need to install that solution there, and then that solution, the details you are doing it, right? Uh, that query and that stuff which you are going to get it. You need to install that on the Cisco umbrella, that configuration. It's going to provide you one script that which you need to take that on the CLI and then and to run it on your firewall or your any other solution there, right? Once you have that, that connectivity between these two means connectivity between the Sentinel and then Cisco umbrella is going to be show as connected. Then the log
Okay.
ingestion can be happened there, and then you can use that as it like that analytics rule, hunting queries, workbooks, right? Everything is going to be work as it is you want to do it there.
Yeah, after finishing this, just tell us like if we have on-prem Palo Alto and we have to connect it to the Sentinel. We already have this IPSec Express Gateway connectivity. So in the firewall perspective, not from the Azure. Azure, we understand this one. From
Then
the
on the
firewall,
firewall perspectives, right? On the on-prem side, you have it that, like, I understand your question. You have that firewall, right? On the on-prem
yeah,
side, and you have the connectivity also. Everything is it is there, right? Then what you
yes,
need
yes.
to do there, like the same I did it that connectivity, the workspace agent which I'm installing it there, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
the firewall logs will not come to ingest on my Sentinel. You need to take that script,
No,
the script
in
which
the
I'm doing it on
firewall,
my
what we have to configure
correct on.
because
That's
previously for syslog we will configure the IP address of the syslog like that for
let me
Sentinel.
tell you. Let me tell you that. This is your on-prem firewall, right? On-prem
Yeah.
firewall, let's say Palo Alto, PAN or
Yes.
checkpoint, whatever there, right? This is your Azure cloud, correct?
Yes.
Azure Sentinel is there, which is
Yes.
on the Azure side, right?
Yeah.
Now you have that connectivity via side to side or express route, anything, right? Right?
Mm.
You have that connectivity is there. Now, what you need to do, which means connectivity is in there, you need to configure the Sentinel stuffs, right? Like the way I was doing it on-prem. What you need to do it here first, you need to make sure that PAN OS ingesting the logs on your Sentinel. Like the way it's
Yeah.
doing it on Panorama, right? Panorama should ingesting the logs into your Sentinel. How you can do that? You need to get that log analytics workspace script, right? The script which you are going to get it from the Sentinel.
Okay.
You need to take
Okay.
that and
That
you
we
need to
have
install it
to
on the panels.
configure
Correct.
it.
Oh, correct. And you install it there and make sure the firewall is open to step that port on 514 on the
514.
on-prem
Okay.
firewall, right? Once you
Okay.
have that
Okay.
data connected, the next generation connector which is showing it there, right? Like the I just showed on the Palo Alto or that connector will show as a connector state. Once you do that, connector state has been showed, right? Now the connectivity is there. Sentinels and just taking the logs from that on-prem. Now you can configure that analytics rule. You can configure your playbook
Okay.
to automate the
Okay.
response. You can have that workbook. Everything is there, right? This is what you can do on the on-prem side as there. Correct. But while doing that, the issue which you are going to encounter, you need to take that into mind. Microsoft Azure is going to support that because it's not that straightforward. I did it for the checkpoint, right? On the on-prem side also and the cloud also, I did that checkpoint. I mean, cloud also, I faced many issue. I involved that Azure guy, and then we got solution because I was not when I was doing it initially, I was not about that comment event format, how I can do that, how can I send the syslogs to that, how can I use the data connector. So that's you can do, but entire process to summarize the thing which I told you, it's going to be happen that. Okay. Same for that other aspects as well. Like you have that WAF on the Akamai, or you have the WAF on the Cisco, that Fortinet WAF, right? Or F5 WAF or anything. You need to follow the same process for that also. And even on the cloud also, you need to follow the same thing.
So I have seen inside the office, they will put some agent IPs of Sentinel. So they will
Yes,
send
that
the
agent.
traffic. Yeah.
So on that firewall logs, on firewall rules, right? That you're
Uh-huh.
writing it there. We are sending it the traffic to a Sentinel.
Yeah.
Site to site tunnel or express route is also going to be site to site tunnel you are configuring, right? That traffic will go via firewall anyhow, right? That
Yeah,
firewall
that
logs
is
we are sending
true.
it. You
Yeah.
need to make
But
sure the traffic
I have
should
seen
allow for your mind.
this configuration, like they will use Sentinel agents installed inside their on premises. So they will point all
There's
these to, yeah,
this is
that
law
is
agent
also
which you call
available.
it Sentinel. Exactly. The
Okay, okay.
Sentinel which you're calling it's a law agent. Specifically
Okay,
the Sentinel
this
it's
page
not
will
going to provide
forward
any
to Sentinel like that.
logs. Correct. Correct.
Okay,
Correct. Correct.
okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Okay. Now what happened? Thanks. So my logs has been installed there. Go in there installed. See that this Windows is there. Open is there. Some solution is there. So data connector has been done. Data connector, I installed it there. I open that connector page. Like the way I open it here, you're going to see it for the firewall as well. So I open that data connector there. The next thing is there are analytics rules are also there. See, these are the all analytics rule. Like uh, any failed login attempts is happened, right? Anything which is happening there, or non-domain is there, NRTs. These are predefined rules are also there. And if I'll open any of them, let's say uh, to show you Windows login fail. What is there with this event? This is that rule template is there. Open this one. See, this is that KQL query I was talking about. It's going to analyze that on the brute force is happening. What is brute force? A person is trying to attack, opening your virtual machine many times, right? So this is that query which is going to trigger that. It's going to say that if this query is matching, it's going to generate that incident. Okay, it's going to generate that incident. And what is that tactics? It's going to use that brute force tactics there, right? And then it's going to run every day. Everything is predefined is there. Okay. Now, if you want to configure your own rule, you can do that. How? Go it there. Go it there. There is an analytics rule section is there. Click on this analytics rule. Where is that analytics rule? This is that analytics, right? Click on this analytics. Click on this analytics. Currently, these are the some room templates which I defined, right? These are the predefined rule templates which is there with your solution, which you installed that, right? Active rule by default, this rule is going to be active from the Microsoft side. It's a fusion attack. It's a fusion rule status, right? It's a fusion rule tactics which contains all these tactics. But if you want to enable your own, that's me. I create a schedule query. You are scheduling and query. It's an NRT real-time experience. It's going to provide you there. Incident rule creation as well. So I'm creating a one rule here. Okay. Let's say I'm calling it this as a rule name as my uh, analytics rule. Analytic rule. Okay, analytics rule. Okay, I can define this rule analyzes the tactics. For an example, I'm saying any description I can give, right? This rule analyzes the tactics for different attacks on virtual machine. Okay, what severity I want to put it there? It can be higher, low, and for I'm saying it could be higher. Now it's asking me to select the tactics. There are, see, all these tactics are there. Reconnaissance attack, we all know that reconnaissance attack. Resource deployment, right? Initial access. Now, if I'll open that reconnaissance, what things are it's going to gather that victim identity information. It's going to order that victim organization information. It's going to order that scanning, right? Closed everything. If you have the resource deployment, what thing is going to capture it there? See, all these things is going to capture. If you have that credential access, let's say, right? So what parameter it's going to capture it there? Network sniffing. If anybody is doing that network sniffing, right? Anybody is trying to do that brute force. Anybody is trying to capture your details, right? all these details, all these tactics, it's going to, there are multiple tactics are there, like discovery, collections, right? It means the type of attack the person is going to do that. Tactics means the type of attack person is going to see two-factor, or if anybody is trying to do that intercept of this two-factor, right? We know that all many things, we know that what kind of things is happening it there, right? Anybody is trying to do that hooking, right? Anybody is trying to run any manipulation, exploitation, right? Initial access, right? Like trying to do that any remote services or anything, any tactics which is there. All these are the predefined. And but if you tactics you need
The
to select, right?
the
Tactics you need to
SOC team
select.
will define this rule, or networking team will.
No, the SOC team will define this. SOC team, that security operation team will define. This is not the network team guy person. The SOC team, this is Sentinel itself. This network team is not going to manage. SOC team is going to be managed. Security team is going to be managed it,
Okay.
right? But they need to
Okay.
have the proper monitoring in place, right? I'm saying it, hey, I given, being a network guy, I'm given that, hey, I given every detail of my firewall, every detail of my WAF, right? But this brute
Yeah,
force
we have
happen
to
or
make
this
sure
happen
the logs are going towards and the connector is connected, and
as a network guy.
mm,
Yeah, as a network guy, you need to make sure these details are happening, right? But this as a security guy also, since we have the security person also there, right? So I need to make sure these things are also happening it there, right? So what I'm going to do it there, let me select the tactics here. Okay. I'm going to say that the tactics, I'm going to select it there. This the tactics. For a time being, let me do one thing. So I'm selecting a tactics. Tactics means as a security guy, I'm selecting these are the parameter on which if things are happening, right? Inform me or create an incident. So let me select it each every name. I mean, it's not like that. Anyway, if you can, basis on your environment, you can define your own tactics. Like here, set rule logic. What rule logic you want to put it there. There I need to, the tactics I selected, reconnaissance tactics I selected, or brute force I selected, right? But for that brute force, I need to define the logic. I need to define the logic, right? That KQL query, I need to define it. So let's say I'm saying it security event, if any security, just this is very, very simple. I'm doing it. Or you can always categorize that where IP address, right, contains, or let's say IP address contain 1.1.1, right? Or anything else you can define it there. Like where, if I'm not sure request queries will come. No, request query will not come. If you have any remote IP address or any other parameter like resource ID, like if the resource ID contains your firewall resource ID on the deployed on the virtual machine, right? So that also you can, so you can customize your query, right? Basis of, it's not that easy, but yeah, security, you're going to get that. If I'll say it there, right? If I'll put it there on that Azure and I'll say it, KQL query for security incident, security event on VM for virtual on VM in Azure, right? So you're going to get that KQL queries there. Example of KQL query for the security event, right? Let me show you that. If I'll copy it, any of them, let's say I'm saying it, this is security event where event source name is Microsoft Windows security auditing is happening, right? It's going to summarize that event by count and that whatever is the count is happened by that event ID and then going to give me a detail here. If I'll copy that, if this parameter is matching with my environment, it's going to give me some results. This is there. Now run the query result. Yeah, see, it's summarized that 4798. This is that event ID. I have that 6 count. 4799. I have 2 count. Or even if I'll just run that, it will, if I'll say it that summarize the count by uh, IP address, it's going to give me, yeah, IP address. Summarize the count by IP address. It's going to summarize that count by IP address. See, yeah, see, it's going to summarize that 172.86 is given 4 times F8, right? So this way you can customize your queries, right? You can customize, add more parameter, right? If I remove this one, or if I remove this one, it's going to summarize that everything is there in detail. Not like one thing, right? You can customize your query. That's what, like a KQL guy is needed, a person is needed to configure this stuff there. Okay, so and then you are going to create that alert and all that stuff, right? But just let's summarize this part. Let's close this one. So this is what, let me just bring out the simple detail. I'm saying it, security event. I'm not going to factor it further. I'm going to security event is happen. I'll just run this query only and see if any result you are going to. And from where exactly I'm going to get this alert? I'm getting this alert from my VM. See that demo VM, right? Account name is demo VM. Now, if you look at this detail here, account name is Azure admin, right? Type is user, demo VM computer name, auditing is happened, right? Someone is doing that auditing, right? And then task is there, event data is there, right? Like say what auditing is happening, right? Target username, right? Target domain name, all these details. What else is there? This is that event ID is happened, right? Now see, someone is trying to do that uh, attempt on my VM and a failed login attempt has been done, right? Right? A failed login attempt. This type of these steps you can do it, right? And what is that application, that authentication package there? NTLM. They use that NTLM package and try to do the failed login attempt, right? Commit here. You can see that IP address from there. These things are coming it there, right? Everything you're going to go to. Like now, look at this one. Every detail, right? This is that IP address which I'm getting that hit. What hit is there? You can analyze that IP as well, right? Let me show you that IP. So all these things, right? IP. Void if I'll go it here and I'll show what IP, the IP which I'm getting it there, where that IP is coming from. I'm doing it manually, but these things you can do it via Sentinel as well. I'll show you that. So I'll put that IP address here. Show that IP address. Sorry, let me put that IP address here. Check IP address. It's a very, very, very good and very informative tool if you do that practical by your own, right? So see, someone from that North America, right, is trying to do that ISP's Frontech, right? It's a cloudeasy.com, something is there. It's trying to hit that, right, from Texas. So all this detail you can get it there. Many more details you're going to get it there, right? And then what else details are there, right? So simply I put that security events. So if you're putting that security event, you're not putting any filter there. So it's going to tell you every details, right? Every details you're going to put it, the details is going to tell you that. See there, right? Event original ID is there, right? Keyword is there. And then resource ID, for every resource, there's a resource ID is there, right? It's a VM resource ID. Now this account name is there, right? Now what I'm going to do it there, this is there. What I'm going to do it. So since logs is coming and I'm able to identify by security event, right? And I can generate, analyze that logs content. If I'll set the test with current status, current data, it's going to tell me that data here as well. Now, I need to do some enhancement. I need to add that entity. Currently, there are zero alert, zero thing, nothing is there, right? I need to add that entity. So what this entity, even if you're not doing it, then also it's work. But what this entity means to you. So I'm saying it's going to specify that, right? You are saying it, you are specifying that rule ID. You are saying it whenever the log is happened for the 5 times, the failed log item is happened 5 times, right? By KQL create. And what are the details you want to have it there? What are the parameter? So I'm saying it, let's see, when the person is having the account, I'm putting the filter as an account, name as in there, and then I'm saying it name account as in there and name, what is that? Account. So whenever that account name, what is the account name means here, right? Look at there. Like here in the QQL query, I'm getting some account name, right? This account, Azure admin, Azure there. Like my VM is having Azure admin, which I put it as an username, right? So I'm saying it whenever that account as an username, right? Name as an account, and then whatever the account name is coming, that should your entity, you need to map that entity. I can add another entity is there. Anyhow, this is not mandatory, but yeah, I'm saying it IP address also, right? Address, and then again, that IP address, I can map it with other details also. So I'm saying it client IP address. Okay. Or many more things, up to 10 you can do that, right? I think I know that. 10 entity, you can add it there. Let's say I'm adding it another entity. I'm saying it, what else I can add it there? So these things you can do it there. Let's say I'm saying it host. What is that host? host name, right? And what host name you want to have it there? Computer. Yes, I'm saying it computer. Okay, this thing you can put it there. Now, it's going to run that query, not 5 hours is too high. It's going to run that query for every 5 minutes. And then every 5 minutes, it's going to look that data for the next 5 minutes, previous 5 minutes. So let's say I'm running a query from 0 to 5 minutes. So it's going to look the data from 0 to 5 minutes. Now I'm running that query at 10, now 10 minutes, right? At 10 minutes. Now it's going to look the data from 5 to 10 minutes. I'm running my query at 15 minutes. It's going to look the data at 10 to 15 minutes. This way, every 5 minutes of the interval, it's going to run and it's going to look the data from the last 5 minutes. Okay, this is that way it's going to work. Now, I can define that alerts and everything is there. I'm going to tell that alert later on, but not configuring it here. I'm just defining that incident. That incident is going to be triggered there. It's going to create that incident whenever that things is happen. Automated response is there, right? Which I'm not going to configure now. I'm going to tell you on automated response how it's going to work. Now let's just configure that analytics rule. So I'm defining one analytics rule basis on my pattern. After this analytics rule, any pattern is going to be matched. It's going to trigger that incident. It's going to trigger that. Currently, there are no incidents are there. If I'll go in my Sentinel there, is there any incident is there? I can see that from the threat management. So 0 incident, no incidents are there. If I'll configure this alert, let's see if the incident started coming or not. Once that parameter is going to match. At the same time, I'll do one thing. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, 2 rules has been configured. One, that analytics rule which I configured, it's going to match that parameter, right? That's how that content name as a suit, it's going to schedule that. Okay, so I configured my own analytics rule there. Now it's going to trigger that, and every time that parameter is going to be matched, it's going to trigger that incident. Since I selected many tactics are there, right? I should get that incident. Let's just wait that incident to commit here. Okay. As soon as it's going to match that, it's going to send that incident. Let's do one thing, take that VM access also and try to do some failed login attempt. See if that VM is started sending that or not. You guys are following me, right? Any yes, no? On the chat, please. Can someone please confirm if we are on the same page?
Yes, yes. So right now we are going to do some multiple tries, and that will be caught on the except.
Multiple time, yeah. I mean, that incident I'm trying to initiate by my own, but there are other tactics are also there, right? Like say if you see many tactics I selected. So I'm hoping I should get some incident. Currently no incident is coming.
So if there is no Windows update also, it will come. Windows
I mean, there are
update.
many tactics, right? If you look at this tactics, right?
Mm.
There are many tactics which I selected there. 16 plus tactics I selected, right? All these reconnaissance, execution, credit access, defense, collection, next. Any of them is getting matched, it's going to trigger that incident.
Yeah, right now we don't understand what are those.
No, so you won't be able to, right? Because this is security guy, but yeah, let me tell you some of them. Let me tell you what this means. So if I look at that, these are the types of attacks, right? You know, types of attack is there, right?
Yeah.
Like the brute force. Brute force means if I'm trying to take that access of your virtual machine,
Yeah.
right? And trying to, right?
Yeah,
That brute force is also
common,
there, right?
Yeah, I understand.
Right. And the reconnaissance is there. If somebody is doing that attack to your by trying to get some details onto your right. So reconnaissance is there, defense is there, right? Credential access, if I'm trying to get that credential access, right? Uh, Lateral movement, if I taken that access of your resources and I'm trying to do move some resource, some documents or something into my own system by doing that some lateral movement, right? And discovery, after logging to your environment, I got that access. I'm doing some discovery. I'm trying to put some more, try to get more details of your organization, right? I'm trying to collect the data if I get that. So all these attacks, there are persistent attacks are also there. I have code to stuck into one machine and trying to fetch everything from there. So these, I mean, there are basic different tactics are there, but I'm just hoping, like say, if any incident will come,
So basically,
There's
these guys
nothing.
will be cyber security engineers or network
Yeah,
security guys.
so this is not that, but this comes into cybersecurity. But in some organization, right? Like I was working it, I was also managing Sentinel. This comes in a Sentinel security, but as a Azure security, Sentinel needs to commit there. Let me see that virtual machine. Open that virtual machine there. Connect, connect. Download that ODB. Let's see if I'm able to log in there. Okay. So let me disconnect the session and then do some failed login attempt. This will take some time to generate the incident here, right? And even I can incident, you can initiate that trigger, that attack on my virtual machine using some script line as well, like hping is there and some other is there for just to testing part, right? But let me do that manually here. We are also going to cover the Sentinel tomorrow also, and in a more detail, things which we discussed. And if we'll get the time for tomorrow, we are going to discuss that monitoring expert, Azure Monitor, right? What is Azure Monitor and all that things. Let's see if any incident is triggering or not. Let me refresh this entire page. I'm hoping I should get some incident. Yeah, see, one incident got triggered here. You guys can see it, right? Let's just verify what this incident is. So that description which I provided here, it's going to tell that in what event has been triggered. It's going to match this credential access, right? Now open the full details there. One incident is there. Open that full details. I'm opening this full detail here. Now everything is there regarding the incident. Everything is there, right? Like it's sending the workspace to the demo log. This is my alert name. This is my product name, right? When this incident has been triggered, what entities, like entities I mentioned, if you remember that entities I mentioned account name, Azure admin is my account name. I mentioned that computer host name. This is my demo VM, right? So it's going to tell me that what activities got matched. It's matched that credential access, which is OS credential dumping is happened, right? And then if we click on the incident overview, you're going to get that workbooks, right? See that this is that workbook I was. Okay, no resources there. Let me show you that workbook later on. But yeah, if we come it here, all these details, tactics which is there, right? And then incident link is also there. And then you can mention that commit as well, what commit you want to do it. And you can assign that. Like let's say your teammates are working it there, right? You want to assign that incident. Let's say I'm assigning this incident to me. This incident got assigned to me, right? Now I can work on that. I can investigate, right? All these stuffs which is commit here, right? If I'll go and investigate, right? I can log that. I can go for the logs and I can see that lot logs. This VM is there. If I log then the logs, it's going to run that query there, right? It's going to tell me that the logs details also, right? And then if I'm going to investigate that, let me do that investigation also, right? If I'll go on investigation, See, this is now what we are doing it. We are doing it at hunting. This is that analytic rules came from this demo VM. This is that entity, right? Now this is that everything details you have it there. Entity is there, info is there. Just very simple thing which mentioned here, right? We did it mention, but anything you can do it there. If we come it here on the Sentinel once again, if we come on the Sentinel, there is a hunting. Either you can do that hunting from here, or the new hunt is there, right? Or either you can go in a content hub, back in a content hub, and then the solution which is there, right? Security, the solution which I selected, there also you will see, there also you will see some event is there, right? Event, if I'll go in that manage, there also you will get that hunting queries. There also you're going that hunting queries there. Let me show you that. Either way, the way you prefer, you want to start your hunt from here, you want to start that hunt from there. See there, that analytics rules are also there, right? And if I'm going to use that here, if I'll show you that hunting, see that hunting queries, right? These are that hunting queries. That's some things are there, right? These are some predefined hunting queries are there. Let's say I'm saying it, event got logged, and I want to see that hunting. I want to find the details of that, right? I selected that and I want to run that queries here. Since there, I don't think my account, so this will not show anything, right? Because event got, it did not log there. But yeah, you, if that parameter is matching, it's going to show you that. There are other hunting queries are also there. So now what I'm doing it, I'm doing that hunting of my resources. If I'll select it, any other hunting queries, right? So let's see, I'm not sure if any of them is got matched my parameter, but yeah, you can use their own custom queries. See that if any result is coming from there, no result, right? Currently no things is there. Nothing is, this parameter is matching this hunting query. So what I can do, I can write my own hunting queries. I can go in my new hunt. See, another incident came, right? Another incident came. This is for what this event. So now incident started coming in your bucket. And this time what it match? Again, it's matched that same parameter. Okay, now let's do one thing. Start the new hunt. What I can do, I can start the new hunt here. I can write that query here, and I can say that hunt name. I'm saying it hunt one, right? And I can put it any description. I can assign that owner as well. Like let's say I'm saying it, I'm assigning to myself, right? This is the new status. Hypothesis is unknown currently. Create that. Any way you want to do, you can do that. You're hunting from there, or you can use the predefined, or you can write their own hunting queries there, right? So after that, it's going to start that hunting there. That create an incident and add queries to hunt. I want to add my queries. I want to add my queries so that hunting can be started. That different parameters queries are there. Like if let's say any of that queries I want to add it there. Let me see if any of that queries which is matching to my environment. There are some predefined queries are there, right? If I'm adding it there. Many things are there to tell you on that Sentinel, right? So this way you can do that hunting, and then so far what we are doing it, we are only discussing that, we are only doing that incident management, right? We are not doing any automating thing, we are not doing any automation and all that, right? Two incident country landed in my bucket, I can do that assignment, right? Even I can create my own incident. If any of that incident is not automatic match, I can create that incident. I can say test incident, right? Test incident, describe that category, describe that status, right? Whether it's a new, active, right? And then can create, assign that user to there, and I can create that. Okay, I'm creating a new incident for me. So now 3 incidents are there in my bucket, right? Now, so incident is there. We got that incident by our analytics rule. Now the automation and other things, we need to do it there, right? So The rest of the things we are going to do it tomorrow. But so far, let's just take up 5 minutes and discuss the thing which we discussed so far, right? Anything? Otherwise, after the 5 minutes, we are open to questions if you have it any. But so far, we only discussing that same capabilities, not the SOAR capabilities. So what we did here. What we did. So we discuss about this. We were discussing about the Sentinel, right? Azure Sentinel. And in this part, we discuss first thing, we discuss the SIEM capabilities. Any doubt on that? Please speak your question or ask that, right? We discuss the SOAR capabilities. And then we came back on the Sentinel. We discussed that component of Sentinel. What is that major component? We discussed that key feature of the Sentinel, right? We discussed the pricing model. We discussed that configuration, how we can do that configuration, right? We discussed that use cases. We discussed the real world scenarios, right? Real world scenarios. And then later on what we discuss, how we like the general scenarios that firewall, PAN OS and checkpoint OS, right? We discuss those things also. We can integrate that checkpoint Palo Alto OS with Sentinel. We discuss that this thing also like integrating log analytics workspace agent with your resources. And then next we configure that virtual machine, VM, configure that security event logs as a data connector and sending that logs to our created a data collection rule so that logs can be sent ingested inside that workspace, right? And then logs started coming on my virtual machine to that Sentinel workspace, right? After that workspace has been configured, Sentinel local is configured, we configure that analytics rule, own custom analytics rule, right? Based on the different tactics which we define. And then what happened? Once that tactics has been matched, incident triggered. Where exactly we define that incident? In that analytics rule, if you remember that, right? Incident triggered. Incident triggered, and then what we did? We tried to do some hunting there, like new hunt we created, right? And do some predefined queries which is there for the hunting part, right? We created own incident also, right, on the Sentinel and trying to run that KQL queries on that one. If any questions, anything, so far the things which we discuss, anyone have it, any question, feel free to ask. If you do not have any questions, please feel free to drop. We'll meet tomorrow again and then we'll discuss that more about that SIEM capabilities and then measure about that SOAR capabilities.
The hunting means we are writing some rules, right? To
hunting means only we are trying to analyze more about that incident which got generated.
okay.
Trying to get more details, as much as detail I want to get, like IP address, where is it's getting generated, what the IP address is coming, which guy is trying to initiate that, it's the first time only, right? All that stuff we are trying to do the hunting. Hunting means like go on the simple word, right? Hunting. I'm trying to hunt that particular, what I say, that particular person on my bucket.
Okay.
That.
Okay.
Any more question, guys?
One general thing, Sumit, like see, if you compare with this, the other like SIEM and so, no, like Cisco XDR, what is Splunk, IBM QRadar, like what is the high level differences between this and that, and what far I can suggest to my customers, or like in what way I can suggest to my customers in a generalized
See,
way, yeah.
correct. Generalize. I can tell you on my experience, right? So whatever the things I'm telling you, that all things I faced in my corporate exposure. So the tools which you said, like IBM QRadar, right, and XDR and other tool, like the other tools are also there in my. I've worked on the Sentinel only in a great way, right? And when I'm going to, I know about that IBM. I do have that theoretical knowledge on the IBM, right? I have that theoretical knowledge on XDR also. But Sentinel, this is, I have the practical hands-on and everything is there, right? But on what case I'm going to tell that to recommend my customer to use that Sentinel? One thing, I'm going to tell that if my resources are on the Azure, right? Azure is there. Because I'm not sure what capabilities these guys are offering it there. But if my resources are on the Azure, first thing I'm going to tell that Sentinel. Why? Because it's a Azure native solution, and the integration for the Azure services is pretty easy. Pretty easy integration, right? Pretty easy integration. And then it's also offering me, these are also offering me, but this are offering me that cloud solution apart from that on-prem solution also there, right? And then compared to the cost is also high with the Sentinel. But if you're comparing with that IBM license cost with the Sentinel, Sentinel is the lower cost as far as my I know, right? The charge which is going to come it, right? It's going to come the amount of data you are going to ingest. Whether on that IBM, if I'm purchasing it, I need to buy the license, right? One thing I like the way we buy the license for Checkpoint and Palo Alto for the on-prem, right? Once I buy the license, whether I'm using it or not, it's going to expire in 1 year, right? But Sentinel, if you're ingesting the logs, you're going to charge it. Otherwise, if you're not ingesting the logs, and if you logs are not getting ingested, no analytics queries are there, right? And no retention, you are putting it there. You're not going to charge with the Sentinel. I was ingesting a lot of data on the Sentinel, right? And that cost that was coming on monthly basis, it was like somewhere 800 to $900. I know which is high, but compared to this part, which is low, right? So these are the things parameter which I'm going to match where my application workload has been deployed, what kind of protection I want to give it to my customer, what is the cost parameter is going to be happen, and then I'm going to suggest the solution to my customer there.
Okay, so can I take in this way, like, so if I have more workloads on my Azure, so I can use Sentinel, right? So that would be giving the appropriate complete visibility
You
on
can
my.
you can sorry to cut. You can use that IBM and XDR also, right? These are also providing the integration. But then customize why you're only opting for the Sentinel. Then other parameters also you need to give. One thing is my Azure native solution is there. Integration is pretty easy, right? It's a cloud-based solution. You're only going to charge the amount of data you are going to ingest it there, the amount of data you are going to use it there, right? Because if you're saying it, if you're, let's say, I'm being a customer, you're telling me that, hey, I'm using Sentinel because my app workload has been deployed on Azure. Okay, that's good, right? That's one solution, but there are other parameters are also there. Whenever we are recommending a solution to the customer, we are also take that other parameter, like cost part. What about the cost? What about the integration with the other services, right? What about that what other parameters are there, but you can do that. So if you're telling that my workload has been deployed as Sentinel on that Azure, then I'm using it. The customer will say, okay, IBM is also there. You can use that IBM, right? IBM QRadar, which is also going to provide the integration with the Azure Sentinel Azure services. Then why this one? Then you can sell that cost is also there in integration with that Azure services, pretty easy, right? And then in a feature, you are only going to charge the amount of data you are going to ingest it there. Support is also available with them Azure, right? Because if I'm opting for my Azure services, obviously I'm opting for my support. Then the support is also going to be integrated with that Sentinel. Here, I need to opt for the solution. I need to opt for the support. I need to pay the cost for the support as well, right? And then other many factors are there, uh, Rajesh. There.
No. And the architectural views, for suppose if you take a big company wherein like there are hundred thousands of servers in Azure, and in the location wise also they have many locations. So one thing like, see, I'll be taking a Sentinel and I'll be integrating all my workloads into Sentinel, and in turn I'll be using IBM QRadar or XDR on the on-premises. So can I integrate this Sentinel on the whole way to like my IBM QRadar, so that I'll be getting the consolidated logs from the locations as well, and as well as the Azure as well. Can I do in that way?
So you're saying integrated two SIEM tool, right? One Sentinel and one QRadar, right?
Right.
So one it on the on-prem, one it at the on cloud side. I think this
Sentinel
is
one
feasible.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Sentinel on the cloud side and then QRadar on your on-prem side, right? You want to integrate both of them. I think this is possible, but if you ask me, I have not done that, and I do not have any exposure integrating with that on-prem SIEM solution with that cloud solution there. So I'm confident. I'm sure about that this can be happened, but how we can do that, and if it's that 100% sure, I'm not answering on that. Rajesh, I need
Logically,
to
it should be possible, you mean to say. Okay.
logically, I think
Later.
it should be possible. Like if you look at that firewalls, right? If I'll
Mm.
think about that firewall, you can integrate your cloud firewall with that on-prem firewall, right? You can do that.
Mhm.
You can integrate your different vendors of firewall, like Cisco ASA with that checkpoint, or Cisco ASA with the Palo Alto, or checkpoint with that Palo Alto. So that integration is possible. Similarly, at that incident level also, security level also, this things is possible. But
Fine. So,
I need to look more into that. Need to work on that, like to see that how we can do that. Exactly, this is possible or not. But yeah, as per my experience, I can say that this is possible. But how, and then I need to figure it out. That
no problem. Let us validate. And this Sentinel is
yeah.
sitting on the VNet
You
level
also
or account
validate.
level? Yeah.
Come with your answer, right? Yeah. Sorry to. You should also
Yeah.
validate that and come with your answer. We can answer it tomorrow, right? Yeah. So we'll get to know
Done.
that this is yeah.
Yeah. This Sentinel is sitting on VNet level or where it is sitting while creating?
No, if you remember, right, while I was creating it, there is no VNet I used that. I just need that one workspace. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Did I selected anywhere that VNet subnet? No, right? Nowhere I
No.
selected the VNet subnet. So it's not sitting on the VNet subnet layer. It's just a log collection. If you're not configuring that analytics tool, you're not configuring that playbook, right? It's just a log collection data. It's just a log collector. You're using it as it is. Nothing else, right? So
Right.
it's not sitting on the VNet on the subnet level, right? It's a security component where you're integrating different resources with the Sentinel to analyze that security events.
Okay, it is open. Like whatever you want, you can integrate. VNets or
Correct.
accounts or on
Right.
premises, whatever you want to integrate, you can. Okay.
You can integrate, right?
Good.
Okay,
Thanks,
nice.
Sumit. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much, Rajesh. Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining it there. And I really appreciate for your day. Have a good day ahead. We'll meet tomorrow again. Thank you.